wife and a newborn baby that I've dressed in a suit to prove to you that I mean business. For the last 15 years, I've lived my life in such a bland, uncontroversial, and repressed manner that it's almost unnatural. Why? Because I've been preparing to be a representative since I was a child. Most well-adjusted, sane men would be hesitant to take a job where their decisions would so drastically affect the lives of so many. But not me. I possess a sort of sociopathic narcissism that makes me think that I should be in charge of everyone. But all of that needs to start here at home, in this beautiful state that I've grown to love since I moved here 18 months ago. Together, we can piggyback some of our state's legitimate needs onto my unquenchable lust for self-glorification. And that's a promise.
You can help spread the ideas of liberty with our Patreon for just $5 per month at amps.freetalklive.com. Free Talk Live.
It's Free Talk Live, talk radio that you control, and 603-283-6160 is the phone number. That's 603-283-6160. You can call in with whatever is on your mind. You're allowed to change the subject. You're allowed to bring up any subject. You're just not allowed to cuss on the air. But you're allowed to talk about whatever you want. Tell us we're wrong. It's up to you. It's Free Talk Live, and with you on the show tonight, you've got me, Bonnie.
Stu.
And Richie Rich.
And we have many things to talk about tonight. This from the Wall Street Journal says
reputable
that,
news source.
I guess they all are. No, if they want to be. On Free Talk Live, they all are. Even the Sun. So this is from Wall Street Journal. It's an opinion piece, and it says there's a bipartisan consensus on criminal justice reform. The First Step Act may be a precursor to Trump's second term. So, do you guys know what the First Step Act is?
I do not.
No.
The thing is, I thought off the top of my head that was already a thing, and it apparently is. It says, I'm just going to skip the first paragraph here. It says,
if it's part of a play, it's probably not very good.
part of a what?
If it's an act like in part of a play, it's probably not a very good one.
The First.
And it makes me nervous if it's bipartisan support already.
I know. I was like,
it's probably going to be for the worst.
I was like, is there any chance that this is something good?
Probably not.
Says, Mr. Trump has a proven record of bipartisan reform. While his criminal justice agenda may include expediting federal executions.
It's already a bad thing.
What does that mean?
They're going to kill people faster.
Them. Well, so while his criminal justice agenda may include expediting federal executions, even progressives must acknowledge that his first term's programs were among the most effective at reducing mass incarceration in American history. The First Step Act, which I just
so less prisoners because they killed more of them off.
That's what it sounds like.
Our jails are overpopulated. Let's kill more of them, and then we won't have overpopulated jails anymore.
I saw somebody was claiming that they were trying to give Luigi Mangione the death penalty, but they don't have that in New York. So why are they even saying that?
Probably because he's probably going to be tried federally if he's like a citizen of Pennsylvania getting transferred to New York.
So, well, I think it's New Jersey, right?
I don't know.
Okay, so it's just you cross lines.
Maybe.
I
don't
guess
know.
that could be it.
Yeah, here it is.
Okay.
Is there federal death penalty?
Yeah.
Oh wait, yeah, because we just read that. Sentence that said that. So let's get into what the First Step Act is and what this article is saying about it. The First Step Act of 2018 was one of his signature legislative accomplishments. The law curtailed mandatory minimum rules. Oh, that's good. That forced judges to give overly harsh sentences, scaled back 3-strike laws that imposed life terms for nonviolent crimes, created incentives for rehabilitation, and shortened roughly 45,000 inmates' sentences. It's working. People released early under the law have had a lower than average recidivism rate. That's a hard word for me. So it sounds like it was mostly a good thing, but every act has a bunch of crap in it, so maybe it has other crap in it. But those things that they just
That
listed
sounds
sound
positive so far, yes.
But we don't know everything about the bill. Could be thousands of pages long.
I know. I just saw a headline where he's like proffering the idea of giving police officers immunity, right? Which you don't want.
Very bad.
That's a bad thing.
They
Yeah, that'll
basically
wind
already
up bad.
They already have immunity, and then you want to give them like more immunity. They're just going to do whatever.
Yeah. So probably in the lines of the George Floyd, Derek Chauvin thing, right? Like if he had immunity, then you couldn't prosecute him at all. And what they said was he overstepped the bounds of normal police conduct and actually murdered George Floyd.
Which they do all the time, but they couldn't hide it with George Floyd because people there
was too much of an outrage. So yeah, but with absolute immunity, right, then you can't do that at all. He's just, that's in the line of duty. That's my
they
job.
can do whatever they want, yeah.
Do whatever I want.
Yeah, then you have a bunch of Cartmans running around. Respect my authority.
Yeah, a bunch of Cartmans. So it says, second, criminal law reform is a genuinely bipartisan issue. Why do they both love putting people in jail? Motivated by distrust of big government, conservative groups such as Right on Crime and the Koch family have long advocated alternatives to incarceration. Evangelical Christians have been at the forefront of campaigns to improve prison conditions. These right-leaning groups are joined by liberal stalwarts such as the ACLU, NAACP, and Open Society Foundations, which approach the issue largely from a civil rights lens, but share the goal of reducing wasteful incarceration. So basically those last three, they just care if you're black or not white. That's what it sounds like to me. That's what it is 99% of the time. Especially with the NAACP. I mean, that's literally what they're supposed to do.
Yes.
But I don't know what the Open Society Foundations is.
ACLU does take on some decent case, or at least they used to. They've kind of made a hard left swing recently.
Ian stopped supporting them. He used to support them and he stopped. But I can't remember what it was.
It was probably part of their hard left swing recently, if any.
But I don't know. It was a specific thing. He would be able to tell you.
All right.
Like what it was. But yeah, it was something like that. I just don't remember what. So I don't remember why he's listing things, but he says, third, public concerns about crime seem to be receding, creating an atmosphere conducive to reform. National crime rates are declining at a historic rate, which I've heard that for the last, since 2016. I've always seen people saying that, but no one seems to be acknowledging it. Now the Wall Street Journal's acknowledging it.
Well, it's hard to run a political campaign as tough on crime when crime is going down, right? So politicians who are running on that platform, which is usually your hard-nosed Republicans, and then we had Kamala come in and she's a prosecutor, so she did the same thing, and that got the Democrats on board as hard on crime.
So weird.
Moving away from their defund the police activism.
Run a news station too if you don't have the ability to be like, oh my god, look at this crime porn that they love to bring up.
That too. Only the bad stuff's in the news. So
for whatever reason, they're accepting now that things are kind of getting better. It seems like almost everything is getting better, but you don't think so when you're just black pilled on Twitter all day or anywhere on the internet. So it says national crime rates are declining at a historic rate, and while public perceptions don't always track with the data, they do seem related to who's in the White House. Concerns about crime decreased markedly when Mr. Trump was first elected president. The outlook would have likely been worse had Kamala Harris won the election after she abandoned her pitch as a progressive prosecutor and campaigned as a hard-nosed attorney general.
See?
Yeah, I was when you said that, I was like, what does that mean? I actually feel like I haven't heard hard-nosed. It's gross.
And I didn't even read the article.
Yeah. But sounds like that she got that enough of part of her
campaign.
Shtick. Yeah. Finally, there is growing consensus that the justice system is broken and in need of repair.
You don't say.
Our current system doesn't keep people safe, and it metes out punishment with bias, like we were talking about with Ross Ulbricht yesterday, and arbitrary cruelty. Most crimes go unsolved. Black and Hispanic men receive harsher punishments than white offenders on average, and crime victims rarely receive services they need. People are looking for solutions. More than 80% of likely voters say they support expansion of the First Step Act. As the law proved, we can reduce incarceration rates, improve public safety, and save taxpayers billions all at the same time.
Yeah, I mean, I mentioned this on air several weeks ago, but when it comes to criminal behavior, right? If the person is not a threat to society in the form of like being actively violently aggressive, then there's no reason to put them in jail, right? They can use financial penalties to make them make restitutions to their victims in some form or fashion, right? Make them work it off, because even that's part of, call
That's
it slavery,
better.
but it's in the Constitution.
It's better that to give somebody back something
Right.
when they took from you than to just be like, haha, you're in jail.
Right.
Honestly, like from going to these prisons, I really don't think most of these people are sitting around like, super suffering and thinking like, if only I had done differently, honestly.
Yeah, and again, go ahead.
They're just being waiting to be let go by their captors. Basically, it doesn't fix anything.
Especially
it doesn't fix
men.
anything for the victim or for the person who broke the law or statute.
I think men are just way better at going to prison too. Like I don't know. Like Mark hates when people say this
Okay.
because he says like a lot of women will say to him like, "Oh my God, I could never," and he's like, "Oh yeah, because it was so easy for me." But it definitely seems easier for all the men I've witnessed in Ian's prisons. Like
Yeah.
they have like their little social cliques. They don't need that much.
That's because women are catty. All you're going to do is cat
I
fights in
don't
jail.
want to be around a woman in a woman's jail ever. So yes, I completely agree.
See?
Not that I would want to be sent to a men's jail. I just don't want to go in jail. And one of the worst parts about it would have to be hanging out with women all day, every day.
Men will pack up and be territorial, and women will just fight amongst themselves the whole time.
Yep.
Yep.
And even,
Challenge me on that.
even like
Callers.
if you're in a lower stakes like a camp. Well, if you're with the guys, it's almost like you're all friends. Like, even if you're not the same race and stuff, you're all like kind of friends. But
Yeah.
if you're in a camp with women, and I don't have any firsthand experience with this, I'm just going to say I would bet it's not like you're all friends.
And
Even
then
if it's
prison
low
guards are mostly males, right? And that's,
Even in women's prisons, I never really thought about that. Honestly,
well, maybe not mostly in women's prisons, but, that's who
I-
applies for the job.
the prison guards in the male prison I have to deal with that suck and cause problems are the women. So
Okay.
I don't know that I'd rather be around, women all day and then also women guards.
Right.
Yeah. Like there's this one that even Arya, because she was at the same prison as Ian, acknowledged like when I was like, oh my God, this lady was so crazy to me today. The first like guard that was really rude to me at this camp. And Arya was like, oh, was it so-and-so? I was like, yes. And she said she is like famous for giving women problems that come in to visit. Like
Yep.
psychopath, literally.
That's why she applied for the job.
Yeah.
Right.
So it says, I guess the reason he was listing things is he's saying that people are optimistic about the future of criminal justice reform. So it's not that there is some necessarily specific bill coming up to talk about. Are you optimistic, Richie Rich?
Well, I mean, I like what I heard from the list you gave, but I'm not optimistic that the system is going to fix itself because it's fundamentally flawed from the ground up, right? Like the American system was supposed to be innocent until proven guilty, better to let 10 criminals go free than put an innocent man in jail, and then somehow through the political system has morphed into we need to maximize our prosecutions rates. Right, we need to win more cases, and prosecutors who win like 90% of their cases, right, they're the ones who get promoted, and that becomes like the incentive structure from which they're measured. And so it doesn't matter if they put innocent people in prison as long as they get the conviction. And then, as noted in all the cases that we've covered on here, they up the charges initially so people take a plea to lesser charges, and they still get the victory, but there's no like true finding of fact. Did this person actually commit the crime that we're accusing them of? It's how can we overburden them with such a penalty that they cop to it, or a lesser charge. Well, it wasn't really murder, but, manslaughter, you could go home today,
And then you
right? And then you only
scared.
have probation.
Yeah, and the way the system's set up, it's seen by the system as a feature and not a bug. So
Right.
it's not ever going to fix itself. I agree.
Right. And again, the whole prison thing with putting, non-violent people in prison makes no sense. And putting most violent people in prison really makes no sense when most of the murders and violent crimes are like crimes of passion.
Yep. I
Right?
agree.
They're not a danger to society. They were a danger to like one person,
Yeah. And it's not like if somebody murders somebody, the family doesn't get that person back because the person's in jail. Like, I brought this up yesterday, but kind of in a different way, like unrelated to what I'm about to say. But the fake victims that were not victims of Ian. They got to say whatever they wanted and definitely seemed coached at the sentencing hearing for Ian's prison sentence. They kept saying, I want Ian Freeman to suffer for his crimes. And it's kind of like actually hilarious when I think about that because he's not suffering at all.
The
He's having
irony
fun.
is Ian is the victim and they were the perpetrators because they lied to Ian.
Yeah.
They defrauded Ian to participate in their own victimization
Yep.
That's
and then
right.
blamed him for it.
Right, and not a whisper about the guy at the other end that ended up with all the money.
Because they can't catch him, right?
Like,
he's
well, I
in
guess
like
not.
Bolivia or somewhere or whatever, like, doing the scamming.
Well, they can catch other international guys like, John McPhee or whoever.
Okay.
So,
But they're not looking.
That
Yeah.
was their excuse, though, when I guess it was Ian's lawyer brought up, well, why haven't you guys went after the
Actual scammer.
scammer? They said, well, we don't have the ability to catch every single criminal on the whole face of the planet, even though we would like to. They're, oh my
that's
God.
what they said, huh?
Mhm.
Fascinating.
But
Yeah.
you targeted one dude in Keene
Yeah.
who had meticulous records, who like went, out of his way to, vet these customers.
Yeah, and spent
And-
years of several field officers, resources, and
Yeah.
postal service, and all kinds of stuff.
And he's the victim. They lied to him, they defrauded him,
And they don't have
and then they
the
blamed him for it.
and they don't have the resources to go after the master scammer.
Right.
Yeah. And just because those ladies got some money back, I mean, they still, most of them pretty sure were not made completely whole. They lost money to other scams.
Yeah.
And they didn't learn their lessons either. And the other thing that I was like actually just thinking of the other day, and I really don't like ruminate about this that often, but I was just thinking about this alone, or just like not on the air. And it was that one of them went up there and like acted like a victim for the fact that she said, and this money was supposed to be my children's inheritance. And I was just like, seriously, we're supposed to feel bad for you that you took your children's inheritance and gave it to a scammer because he tricked you that he was a sexy man who needed money for ExxonMobil, like something really stupid. Like, honestly, I feel like you're a bad person now. I feel more like
Yeah.
you're a bad person that you would do that with your children. That's just such boomer mentality, and most of them were actually
And
some
lied
of them
to
were
Ian
boomers.
about it.
Yeah.
Right? Like he wouldn't have sold to her if she said, well, I'm sending this for a guy to invest in ExxonMobil or
Right.
whatever.
Ian knows
And
like
like,
every
that
he
scam.
sounds
said,
like a
that
scam.
sounds like a scam, and I'm not doing it.
While
Yeah.
Ian was waiting for his sentencing hearing and he was still here, I went and told him, hey, this lady is here. We know her. I just don't want to out her. And she said that Arya's going to get out of prison tonight if we help her send money to the jail guard that called her.
Okay.
And Ian
Sounds
was like,
suspicious.
Ian was like, this sounds like a scam. And I was like, oh, you're right, it does. Because it was like 30 seconds into her coming to the door.
Yeah.
And I was like, at least I had the sense to say, we need to wait for Ian. And she's like, it's just that we have 30 minutes left.
Yeah.
And I
That's
was
how
like-
they get you.
And I was
Yep.
like, okay. But I really got to ask Ian. And on the break, he went over there. So he stopped her from losing more money. She already had sent them some money. They were like, yeah, you just have to send it $2,000 at a time. And she didn't get it back from Cash App. So
Yeah.
it's not like a problem with Bitcoin that you can't always get your money back if you send it to a
Or
scammer.
Western Union
Yeah.
is gone.
Yep.
Money order gone.
Yep.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe sometimes you can get your bank to do something, but in that lady's case, no, she lost like $4,000 thinking that, because, and this is another reason not to send people who didn't do anything that bad to prison. They sent Arya to prison for really doing nothing, and then her friend got scammed thinking that her loved one was depending on her to get Arya out of prison by sending the prison guard $2,000 for her ankle, or $4,000 for her ankle monitor.
Yeah.
But I brought all that up to say more that Ian knows all the scams, and he was, instantly like, not only did he literally save someone from a scam in the midst of his waiting for his hearing, right before going to prison for scamming people, quote unquote, which isn't for that either, but that's what the FBI says.
Let's
in there.
assume for a minute, just hypothetically, that Ian was like the mastermind in scamming people.
Mm-hmm.
And these people have been defrauded of like hundreds of thousands of dollars. Like, how do you make them whole?
Mm-hmm.
You have to return the money.
Mm-hmm.
Well, if Ian doesn't have the money, he's not going to make the money in prison,
Yeah.
right? So why put him in prison?
Yeah, where you could just
Make
stay
him
out
work.
money. Yeah.
Make him earn the money. If he's capable of like not defrauding people and making millions of dollars a year, right? Garnish his check. You know, put some sort of penalty on him where he's not allowed to keep it.
Yep. So
Right.
there's probably a lot of things that make more sense than just you got to go and time
Rotting
out.
away in jail.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He didn't kill
Yeah.
anybody.
And,
He's not like a danger to society or the community.
and also on the point of scams, there's few things as cherished in American society as a good scam. Mormons especially love these things. And if you tell them about some new product or whatever, they'll be like, oh, that's cool. But if you tell them pyramid scheme, they're like, ooh, sign me up.
Well, and I will also say this: if you think you're getting scammed, take a moment to wait, because one of the primary techniques that scammers use is what happened to your friend, which is like time sensitivity. You have to act now, otherwise it's too late. And that turns off people's brains, right? They go back to like cavemen, right? Oh, God, do it now, right?
Yeah.
And then it's too late, and that's how they get you. If you make someone act quickly without thinking, they're more likely to make a bad decision and fall victim to the scam.
Yeah, I was there and heard these some of these ladies giving their victim statement in the courtroom, and it's exactly like Bonnie said. But for people like that, I almost feel like they would go for it, even if like the message had a little, a small script at the bottom saying this is a scam. They'd still be like, okay, they'd go for it because they just wanted to be scammed anyways. They knew it was a scam. That's so obvious.
One thing that I think is crazy is that they were saying that these people were particularly vulnerable to romance scams. And honestly, I don't think 6-year-old women are more particularly vulnerable to romance scams than like a 16-year-old boy. Somebody who's like
okay.
can't control himself with his hormones right then.
Yeah,
Like, why do they get to be particularly vulnerable? Like, there was one lady that was in
because
her
older
70s.
ladies are lonely.
Yeah, but like little boys are lonely.
I don't know about that.
Somebody I know, and I hate to
Okay.
say it, I don't want to say who, obviously. I'm not going to say who. Got scammed in this way where basically they tricked him that they were like a Facebook friend and then were like, send me pictures of things. And then he did, and he was a teenage boy. And then they started emailing him, okay, I have these pictures and I'm going to send them to the person you have listed as your mom on Facebook if you don't send me money. And
Yep.
so that was like a big deal to this person. Like, I can't tell my mom I did this. What do I do? If I could get the money, I can just
Yeah.
make it go away. But instead, it decided to tell his mom, like, oh, I'm in too deep. Told his mom, and oh my God.
That's more blackmail than a scam. Like
Both, though. Oh,
yeah, it's still fraud, but it's after the fact.
But here's the thing. Like, I feel like a 25-year-old man might see that and be like, yeah, this isn't some chick that actually wants to see my...
There are horny women in your area ready to meet now.
Yeah.
Right.
So that's why I don't understand why you get to be particularly vulnerable because you're 60 and like a lot of people are still working at that age, but whatever.
You're now in possession of child porn. Maybe you should send me money, jerk.
Good point, actually. I didn't think of that. Yeah. And you could have said anything like that to them, but they weren't going to do anything. But 603-283-6160. It's Free Talk Live. More coming up. You can call in with whatever's on your mind. And the last little paragraph here says that this is a rare place where progressives and conservatives agree, and there's ample opportunity and promise for a Next Step Act. And the name kind of, provides for that. So I don't know. I might be optimistic. It's Free Talk Live. More coming up.
Free Talk Live.
It would be better if we talked about the basis of all of this as far as the legal theory.
I get the legal theory. That's the problem with people who call like this, Scott. You really sound like you know what you're talking about, but ultimately you don't have anything to prove that you know what you're talking about. And everyone who's ever tried this stuff has gone down in flames. And of course, everyone always says after that, like you're saying about your own self and your own experience, oh, well, I didn't know enough at that time. I know now. And I really don't want to hear any more about this until you actually come up with some evidence, because I'm telling you, it's bunk and it doesn't work at all because these people don't follow their own rules. Even if you have figured out from inside their own rules, even if you spent years, as you say you have, researching their ordinances and researching their statutes and how law works and the contract stuff and all of that, none of it matters because they don't follow their own rules.
Free Talk Live. 7 nights a week from 7 to 10 Eastern at freetalklive.com.
From Feature Story News in Washington, I'm Jagruti Dave. A holiday season US government shutdown has been avoided after Congress agreed on a stopgap measure. The House passed it by 366 to 34, with the Senate following suit, passing the bipartisan funding bill by a vote of 85 to 11. Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer praised the development, capping a chaotic week that saw President-elect Trump and Elon Musk cast doubt on whether an agreement could be reached.
There will be no government shutdown right before Christmas. This is a good bill. It'll keep the government open.
The short-term funding bill signed by President Biden includes $100 billion for disaster relief, $30 billion for farmers, and a one-year extension on the Farm Bill. It does not include Trump's demand to either raise or abolish the debt ceiling, which was not popular with many in the Republican Party. 2 US Navy pilots have been recovered after an apparent friendly fire incident over the Red Sea. US forces were engaged in strikes against Yemen's Houthi rebels. We get more from Scott Carr.
Central Command says the pilot's FA-18 Super Hornet jet had just taken off from the USS Harry S. Truman aircraft carrier early Sunday when it was fired upon with a guided cruise missile from the USS Gettysburg. No explanation was given. Officials say both pilots were able to safely eject, with only one of them sustaining minor injuries. An investigation is underway. I'm Scott Carr in Washington.
Homeland Security Secretary Alejandro Mayorkas is concerned about online rhetoric following the killing of United Healthcare CEO Brian Thompson. Appearing on CBS's Face the Nation, Mayorkas said his agency is watching the outpouring of support on social media for Thompson's alleged assassin.
It speaks of what is really bubbling here in this country, and unfortunately, we see that manifested in violence.
Luigi Mangione is accused of gunning down Thompson on the morning of December the 4th in New York City. He was arrested less than a week later with a manifesto that appears to express anger at the private health insurance industry for denying patients life-saving medical care. US Senator Ben Cardin says the country needs tougher regulations on drone flying within its borders. In an interview on Fox News Sunday, the Maryland Democrat indicated concerns over recent drone sightings across the US are being overblown.
Well, in regards to the recent observations, we've been informed that there's no threat against our country.
He added there are already a massive number of private drones that fly around the US at any given time, along with planes that some concerned residents have misidentified.
Yep, we still do email. Drop your email address in the entry box at freetalklive.com, and you'll be kept in the loop with Free Talk Live.
Talk Live, talk radio that you control, and 603-283-6160 is the phone number. That's 603-283-6160. You can call in with whatever's on your mind. Free Talk Live is brought to you by Dash, Digital Cash. Dash is the cryptocurrency made for spending. You can pay your bills with Dash at Spritz.finance, plus they can send dollars to your bank if you still need those for something. Thanks to the Dash DAO for sending us 32 Dash per month for this sponsorship. It's easy to get and use Dash. You can learn more at dash.org. And with you on Free Talk Live, we've got me, Bonnie,
Stu,
and Richie Rich.
And we have a caller on the line, so I'm just going to go right to the unscreened caller. Unscreened caller, you're on Free Talk Live. What's on your mind?
It's your boy. the
He's gonna do it back to you, Stevie.
The inefficiency of the justice system is it's not only a feature of the system, but it's also the cure. And you know what causes the inefficiency?
The cure to what? Sorry, you got to say what it's the cure to.
It's the cure to itself.
So just make the justice system more inefficient.
Yes.
Okay.
You don't want to fix it. And you know what?
None of us said,
you know
it should be
the
more
inefficiency-
efficient. You're just putting crap in our mouths anyway. We didn't say efficient.
Aren't you guys talking? You guys are talking about justice reform, but you know what?
That doesn't mean make it more efficient. Why would I say that about putting people in jail?
Okay, sure, but you know what the inefficiency is of the justice system? It's privacy. You realize that, right? It's this expensive fact-finding mission. And that's why we keep debating on the false lies that you keep telling about Ulbricht. But that's not really what I want to talk about, right?
Of course not.
It didn't mean anything, so why would you want to talk about something that doesn't mean anything?
Skeeter wants an all-knowing, all-seeing police state. That way, everyone knows everyone's business and you can't do anything illegal or wrong. No?
You said that basically before.
No, it's not what I want, Rich. It's what the market wants. It's what evolution wants. It wants us to be a hive mind.
No, the market doesn't want that.
Besides,
the market goes against that.
You don't think perfect information isn't something the market always strives for?
You're also the speaker for evolution because you made it up. You
Not
made
at
up
all.
this evolution with a mind that N wants.
I think market participants prefer privacy.
No, that's not correct.
Why do people go outside of the...
That's why I have curtains on my house.
It's
That's
why
I have
there's
locks
black
on my
market
door.
things.
But you have to understand. Do you know what demand is, Rich? There's not going to be any demand for locking defensive properties. There's not going to be any demand for restitution or privacy.
People don't want to get people don't want to be made whole in your market. When something goes missing, they don't want it returned to them in your ideal market situation.
Do you know what net demand is? When I say net demand, right? Someone might be a victim of a crime and want to be made whole, but there is no net demand to restore him. There will be no net demand unless
the net demand is from the rest of society who would also want it to be made whole should they be a victim of theft.
They don't. So let's just imagine a case where someone steals something from me.
Yes.
Bonnie, Rich, how much are you willing to spend to help me get that back?
Why would I need... I'm not willing to spend anything to help you get something back.
Exactly. Now, Rich, how much are you willing to spend to help me get that back?
And that's you personally.
Yeah. I might pitch in to help Bonnie get something back, but I don't like you.
Random person. Okay, remove me. What about any random person?
The thing is, I wouldn't necessarily have to do this with any random person, but it could be a person in my community around me that I have agreed to have some kind of fund for, and they also have my back.
Yeah, but okay, what's a rational reason for you to go into that agreement?
Because
same reason people have insurance now is in the event that this happens to them.
No, but insurance is not a stable system because it doesn't take into account externalities. And once
I'm not a big fan of insurance, but I'm not a big fan of insurance, but that's the justification, right? I pay into the system, Bonnie pays into the system, Stu pays into the system, you pay into the system. In the event that something bad happens to one of us, the cost is covered to return that and make you whole.
Yeah, but it becomes a perverted game of tragedy of the commons, right? Everybody has the incentive to for that event to occur to them, right? Because
your solution to that is just take away free will. Just make it so you can't make a choice.
The solution to that is create a money system where it helps internalize externalities.
I don't think people are seeking out damage.
Yeah, why
right?
it doesn't make any sense.
Because I'm not trying to get into a car accident because I pay car insurance and I want my money back.
You're just being made whole. Nobody is saying...
I'm not burning down my house because I pay homeowners insurance and I want my money back.
You're not going to make like $500,000 for it if your house is worth $250,000.
Whatever it is.
So let me explain that. So you guys know the externality, right? So in an insurance contract, it's just a wager between the two of an event occurring, a bad event.
No, I'm way more interested in you responding to all the things we've said to you, because it's like you ask us a question, we give perfectly airtight responses, and then you just start talking about something else, and it's boring. No. It's stupid. It's how a stupid person talks.
But you're not taking into account what I said. I'm talking about externalities.
Because we've answered everything you said, and you still are...
I absolutely addressed what you said, because you said people will seek out the bad behavior in order to take advantage of the system, and I absolutely refute that and gave examples.
How does? No, I'm talking about. Did you address the externality issue?
No, because I addressed the other issue, and then you moved to the externality issue.
It's like I could just sit here and say, "Oh yeah, well, what about this math question?" And then if you answer it, say, "Oh yeah, well, what about this math question?" And pretend I won the whole conversation.
So when you have insurance in the system, what happens is externally is that there's more of that event that occurs, right? So if you insure against theft will occur more in the system, which creates the inefficiency. It's a zero-sum game internally because one pays the other party if they win or lose.
See, and that is the point that I just refuted. That is the point I just refuted, and I gave the examples of car insurance, homeowners insurance, life insurance.
Yeah,
right?
Yeah, you're wrong. Why don't you, this is already empirical.
People are not going out and burning their houses down and
yes,
purposely getting into car accidents in order to recoup the insurance money.
Yes, they are.
I mean, like, the house thing is like something that's happened before, but not like, oh, it's happening like 50% more now. But especially not car accidents. That's like made up.
Do you know what? Okay, Rich, do you know what moral hazard is? Do you know what the Peltzman effect is? I suggest you look it up.
Well, just tell me, because I'm not going to do any research that you give me.
You know what moral hazard is? It's when a policy causes someone to act more recklessly. You act more recklessly when you take out a bet on a bad event occurring. Like if you insure against theft, you're going to act less efficiently in protecting your assets.
But your claim is that if he insures against theft, he's going to steal.
Not only that,
no, I'm going to mute you because I don't want to have this conversation where you change the subject every time we refute what you said. Your original claim was that if he insures himself against theft, he's going to steal. And that is not the same thing as if he insures himself against theft, he might be more reckless with his money.
No.
It's so stupid. And it's not the same conversation we were having a second ago.
Me, Bonnie.
No, because he literally said that, did he not? Why were we giving the examples?
No. When you insure against theft against you, what happens is you're more careless in protecting your items.
Well, that's my problem. And besides, you don't even know that's true about everyone.
And that's not true because there's a cost benefit analysis there. You can have a time that you have to spend without the thing. You're still going to protect it. You're still going to lock your stuff up.
You decrease the cost though.
Yeah.
Just because it's insured doesn't mean you don't care about it.
I have renter's insurance on my storage locker, and I have locks on my storage locker.
It's called marginal analysis, Stu. You care less about it because you've taken out a bet on that event occurring. When you take out insurance against someone stealing from you, you're betting someone steals from you. That's what happens. You have a little more incentive for that event to occur.
Even if you have some kind of like, on average, this happens. Okay, then we have a bunch of low IQ people in the country. No, because it's boring. It's so stupid. Besides, the original thing you started trying to make a point about was the justice system, and it's just like that has nothing to do with insurance. Now we're talking about freaking insurance, and like, well, on average, this happens in the country. I don't care. I'm not married to a retard. I'm not a retard. Maybe all of his friends and family are. I don't care. We have another caller on the line anyway, but did you guys have anything else you want to say?
Some people are obsessed with data sets and things like that. I think Skeeter's one of these people, and it's just not going to be productive for you, man.
That's what I think too, and I've been seeing a lot of people doing that. But next caller, unscreened caller, you're on Free Talk Live. What's on your mind?
Well, I was spurred by the previous caller. I think what he didn't explain is a real conservative likes slow and steady growth. But fake conservatives are the ones that are gamblers. And gamblers don't care if they win or lose. They like the adrenaline. And that's not very good for farmers. It's not very good for civilization when everything goes riding on somebody's bet and that there is somebody living in a penthouse decides that poisoning the river is a good idea, or somebody.
Well, wouldn't it be great if we could choose our neighbors instead of having to be forced to take care of Californians and all of the retards that live there, and then California has to take care of Floridians and all the Florida men that live there. It's just like, well, I don't have to make my community one of these penthouse guys who don't care about poisoning the river. It's just like, what you act like we all have to live as one whole world together, and it's because of the propaganda about that.
To be fair, California is a net federal taxpayer.
I don't care.
Okay.
It was just more about like stupid people.
I get it.
Conservatives.
Taxes.
There are fake conservatives and there are real conservatives, and libertarians are gamblers.
Go on. I would like to hear the justification for that.
Well, do you like honesty?
I do like honesty, yes.
All right.
So do I.
So if you found out that there was some sort of a chemical dropped into your food, whether it was just some random chemical to make it some certain color, but that chemical was a very good likelihood that it'll give you cancer.
So let's just call it high fructose corn syrup.
Sure.
Okay.
Very good example. And there, basically, high fructose has got a business license, to do business not only in America but other parts of the world. And cancer and diabetes are increasing like crazy. And the companies that are producing high fructose don't pay the insurance, and they're taking the profits as quick as they can and investing in other bad ideas. Is that conservative or is that a gambler?
Well, I want you to answer how that's libertarian.
Well, libertarians are notorious for letting the market decide.
Okay.
But if you let the market decide and you have people that are always tweaking the market and playing games with the market.
How does the high fructose corn syrup manufacturer tweak the market or game the market?
That they could be secretly putting something, and he called it high fructose corn syrup in some ingredients. But here's what I would say to that: only buy from products that give you a certificate of authenticity, or it's not authenticity, a certificate of like purity. That's anytime I've bought drugs online.
Or if it's not disclosed in libertarian paradise, you'd be able to file a tort for fraud. Right.
Also, we have no idea what a natural setting actual market would do, because all we have is a monopolized, a monopoly grantor in the middle, telling who, like basically the kingmaker.
Let's also assume that people aren't going to do their research. People aren't going to do their research, and they're going to buy the high fructose corn syrup product. So the producer will have a market for it. Right. And people who value health and safety and longevity of life
possibly
will not.
But maybe in the market, it just turns out that that's more difficult to produce without the subsidies and all of that goes into it, and maybe it's just not even a product available.
Well, one thing that maybe this is to your point is a lot of people, you can tell them, hey, you know that product you're drinking right now has X, Y, or Z in it, and there's good research to show it causes cancer, and the person will say, shut up, I don't care, I just think it tastes good. So yeah, some people might just want to eat it.
And there's a market for those people.
I used to be like that. Like I looked at the back of a can of Mountain Dew. I'm like, man, I slam down like 7 or 8 of these a day right now. Better figure out what's in it. And it's a really long list. And the one that kind of jumped out at me was the brominated vegetable oil. And I'm like, what's that? And so I looked it up.
There's vegetable oil in it?
It's brominated vegetable oil. And I'm like, what is that? And they said,
wow.
And it said, it's when you add bromine to it. And I'm like, okay, what's bromine? And they're like, well, it's in the halogen family.
Oh.
And I'm like,
so it gives it a beautiful green hue.
Yeah.
Wow.
Well, I guess that was just banned last year from what I understand, but...
Wow.
Okay. Well, either way, I mean, yes, people make the choice, but also poor people don't have options, right? Like a pack of ramen is cheaper and more filling than whatever you're going to buy at Whole Foods.
They might want to eat the poison because it's cheap.
They might not have a choice, right? That might be what they can afford given their circumstance.
So, using the government to take it away from someone doesn't sound very conservative to me.
Or libertarian. But go on, caller.
Well, it's interesting you're getting into the food desert problem. There are places in, for example, Detroit, where you might have to go 20 miles to get to a real grocery store, and L.A. is another example.
Do you know the definition of food desert is 1 mile from your location? Like, that's how they define it.
Wow.
Well, that may be, but there are places that corner stores which sell nothing but chips and gallons and gallons of soda and cigarettes and all this other junk.
And there are probably rural areas here in New Hampshire in similar situations, and the people live out there because they've done the cost benefit analysis, and they said, the freedom that I have out here in this rural area is not worth the convenience of having a grocery store within a mile.
Yeah, they choose to drive further. And the other thing that kind of irritates me about like arguments like this, like what he said about Detroit, is, well, I think if there is any argument that anyone is forced to live in a place, it's very few people, and most people could just move if they wanted to. Doesn't mean they could. Everybody has the choice to move to Beverly Hills, but if it's that bad, if it's something you don't want to put up with, you can find a way.
shutting down grocery stores where people used to live, or should I say, where established towns are. I mean, basically, we're getting into colony economics. You know, when the grocery store, it's a long series of events starting with the brain drain. People move out of town to go to the big city, and slowly but surely the town goes from 40,000 people to 20,000. And so after a point, the big grocery chains leave, and they're left with nothing but the Quickie Mart. And so for you to say that people want to move out to where the whatever, that's not the reality. It's the remaining people.
Well,
I mean, even in your own example, you've established that those people had the capacity to leave based on the 20,000 population or whatever that left prior to them, right? They were left behind.
And is the solution in your situation to force grocery stores to stay open when they should be allowed to fail?
No. Well, that's you're talking cheap about the competition is a big part of libertarianism, right? And in the old days, there used to be 30 or 40 different grocery store chains.
Right.
Albertsons just tried to buy up Safeway, and they would have had something like 80% of the grocery sales in America.
Yeah.
Okay.
And it may have been in excess of 80%, but it's a massive number. These corporations have been buying each other up for years now, and they demand a rate of return based upon what Penthouse Boy comes up with.
So I had this discussion with my boss with a similar thing. So in the event that the corporation takes over, they're the only grocery store in town, right? You're still going to get the best price possible from that corporation.
Not necessarily.
Because if someone could offer a lower price and make a profit, they would. That's how competition works, right? In economic terms, pure competition, there is no profit margin left because it has been siphoned off by every new competitor who enters the market.
Another thing is in the United States today, who doesn't have access to the internet? I get plenty of stuff off of the internet because I can't find it around me, and I don't live in a food desert.
Yeah. But I'm just saying, if someone could offer a lower price and make a profit, they would open a grocery store.
And he didn't really answer my question.
If somebody could offer a better product and charge a higher price, then they could compete.
Yeah, you're competing on quality at that point.
And it's kind of like you really don't know what the market would do because we don't have anything near a free market.
Yeah.
Well,
and Whole Foods is doing just fine, overcharging.
Where the purchasing agent for that corporation may decide, they may take a kickback and decide to kick out, to refuse to buy from certain companies. There are a lot of small producers of different kinds of cereals. Okay. Kellogg's is making sure that they get all the shelf space and that, some little health food brands can never get on the grocery store shelves.
You know, it was amazing during COVID, how many new brands I saw on the grocery store shelves. Anybody else experience that?
No, I thought things really just disappeared.
Yeah, well, the big brands disappeared, and then when they couldn't get stuff from the big brands, some lesser-known brands were like filling the shelf spots.
I remember that for a bit. Yeah, I kind of forgot that was a thing.
And then the big brands ramped up production and took it back.
Yeah, took it back. Yeah.
When they weren't there, the little guy stepped in.
Even in makeup, because makeup was a $1 billion+ industry, and it got people weren't going out, so they're not buying makeup as much. And I found some weird things I still honestly use. They're probably expired for eyebrows and stuff. In grocery stores, I've never seen those brands again.
Yeah, they had their moment and they're gone.
Competition can be stifled by the purchasing agent, and the purchasing agent for one corporation may handle 5 states instead of 2 counties.
Only if you monopolize the way that the product could be sold. Otherwise, I just go open a storefront and sell my own product.
Yeah. I don't see how that's a problem. They can monopolize it only to an extent, and then competition will enter where there's a profit.
And I think he's saying, so Capital Candy sells their products to the Moose Mart, which then sells them to the customer. Well, then somebody's just going to create a new Capital Candy.
That's what I'm saying. If there's a profit motive within the market, the monopoly is impossible to maintain.
Mm-hmm.
And if you can maintain the monopoly, right? Then it shows how
Means you're a
efficient.
hero.
Yeah, it shows how efficient and well serving you are to your consumers.
Yeah, absent some government law or government threat to the potential competition.
Yeah, I don't want people to think I'm saying like Amazon is a hero, which I don't think they're 0% a hero, but I also think that we aren't living in a free market, so it's not like they necessarily did all the things Richie Rich is explaining, like, oh, they just beat out the competition in a fair way. Like, I'm not saying that. I think that's what really confuses people about libertarians.
Well, there's no way that it was a fair way, especially, again, when the purchasing agent is taking kickbacks to make sure that somebody doesn't get on the shelves. That basically is a violation of interstate commerce. And the idea
it's not how interstate commerce works, but go on.
Well, if the idea that a kickback makes sure that your competition is stifled.
That's nothing to do with interstate commerce as it was written.
That's a couple of layers of crimes. And the idea that...
What's wrong with the kickback? Call it a commission and it's fine.
Yeah, I don't know if you know how things work, but that's pretty much run-of-the-mill standard.
And you don't even need a government for that.
And so that's how Albertsons almost bought Safeway, and that the grocery store experience that we've got today almost got horribly worse. Apparently,
in a not free market with this company who is working with the government for things like it's like I said Amazon is bad, and you said Amazon is bad, and start using that as an excuse, as an argument against me, which I don't understand.
The grocery experience could have gotten better with that conglomerate because of efficiencies in the market, right? They could have done things better and offered lower prices to their consumers, and if they failed to do so. If they failed to do so, there'd be a profit motive for competitors to enter.
I thought libertarians loved competition, and that stifling competition was anti-libertarian.
It's like you weren't listening to us this whole entire time because we already told you that. It's like these people don't actually want to hear anything that we're saying.
The competition that libertarians would see would be people's observing a profit motive and entering the market.
Yeah, market competition is the only thing that can keep your market honest.
It's like he thinks that we're defending monopolies in corporatist America today, and I wanted to make that clear because I feel like maybe that went over some people's heads. But more Free Talk Live coming up, 603-283-6160. It's Free Talk Live. More coming up.
I've been told no in many different ways.
I give you an order and you're going to obey it.
George, you can go this way. You can't do that and you have to leave here.
You cannot bring signs into the rally.
Walk with me. Well, I'm comfortable here, actually. Whoa. Hey. Who do you think you are? Excuse me.
There is no video and audio allowed in this office.
No, I have work today.
You ain't going to make it.
Wait a minute. Hey! Oh my God! Unbelievable!
Why are you running from me?
Because you scared me. What am I being detained for?
You're being served.
What is this?
You're being served.
What is this? Bureaucrats have a funny way of telling people no.
That's the sound of the men working on the chain.
Derek J's Victimless Crime Spree. Watch it for free and order the Director's Cut DVD at victimlesscrimespree.com.
Free speech is protected on the internet, right? Not always. Government agencies try to limit free speech and commerce on the net. Luckily, when they do, the Institute for Justice is there to defend your First Amendment right to free speech. IJ helped set the first federal precedent for internet free speech in 1999, and ever since has worked to prevent unconstitutional roadblocks in cyberspace. Visit our website today at ij.org.
What if you want to hear the latest episode of Free Talk Live, but all you have is your phone, you forgot to download our archive, and you have no data connection? You can call our Listen line at 641-793-0191. That's a long-distance number, so you may incur charges. If not, listen as long as you want. 641-793-0191. The Free Talk Live Listen line, 641-793-0191.
You're listening to the live edition of Free Talk Live. Hour number 2 is next after the news here on the Liberty Radio Network at LRN.FM.
From Feature Story News in Washington, I'm Jagruti Dave. A holiday season US government shutdown has been avoided after Congress agreed on a stopgap measure. The House passed it by 366 to 34, with the Senate following suit, passing the bipartisan funding bill by a vote of 85 to 11. Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer praised the development, capping a chaotic week that saw President-elect Trump and Elon Musk cast doubt on whether an agreement could be reached.
There will be no government shutdown right before Christmas. This is a good bill. It'll keep the government open.
The short-term funding bill signed by President Biden includes $100 billion for disaster relief, $30 billion for farmers, and a one-year extension on the Farm Bill. It does not include Trump's demand to either raise or abolish the debt ceiling, which was not popular with many in the Republican Party. 2 US Navy pilots have been recovered after an apparent friendly fire incident over the Red Sea. US forces were engaged in strikes against Yemen's Houthi rebels. We get more from Scott Carr.
Central Command says the pilot's FA-18 Super Hornet jet had just taken off from the USS Harry S. Truman aircraft carrier early Sunday when it was fired upon with a guided cruise missile from the USS Gettysburg. No explanation was given. Officials say both pilots were able to safely eject, with only one of them sustaining minor injuries. An investigation is underway. I'm Scott Carr in Washington.
Homeland Security Secretary Alejandro Mayorkas is concerned about online rhetoric following the killing of United Healthcare CEO Brian Thompson. Appearing on CBS's Face the Nation, Mayorkas said his agency is watching the outpouring of support on social media for Thompson's alleged assassin.
It speaks of what is really bubbling here in this country, and unfortunately, we see that manifested in violence.
Luigi Mangione is accused of gunning down Thompson on the morning of December the 4th in New York City. He was arrested less than a week later with a manifesto that appears to express anger at the private health insurance industry for denying patients life-saving medical care. US Senator Ben Cardin says the country needs tougher regulations on drone flying within its borders. In an interview on Fox News Sunday, the Maryland Democrat indicated concerns over recent drone sightings across the US are being overblown.
Well, in regards to the recent observations, we've been informed that there's no threat against our country.
He added there are already a massive number of private drones that fly around the US at any given time, along with planes that some concerned residents have misidentified as drones. From bureaus worldwide, this is FSN.
With FSN Spotlight, I'm Simon Marks, spending this week casting a gaze into our 2025 crystal ball with the help of the New York Times chief diplomatic correspondent Steve Erlinger. One of the most seasoned and nuanced observers globally, he's been talking to America's Council on Foreign Relations about the issues he will be watching over the next 12 months.
October 7th, when Hamas went and invaded Israel, was like the fall of the wall in 1989. It was completely unexpected.
Today, Israel and Gaza.
Hamas, as we know, is devastated, but what next in Gaza? The war is pretty much over there, but Israel has failed to produce the political conclusion that would let them leave. And I'm not sure they want to leave. Iran is looking quite naked. Trump wouldn't join an Israeli attack on Iran's nuclear program, but he might sanction it. And also he might not bother too much if Israel moves to annex more parts of the West Bank, like the Jordan Valley. So there's a lot to play for and a lot of uncertainty, but there's no question that Israel is to some degree setting the agenda now, and Iran is very much weakened.
Tomorrow, Turkey, a huge beneficiary of the collapse of the regime of Syrian dictator Bashar al-Assad. With FSN Spotlight, I'm Simon Marks.
The main headlines again. A holiday season US government shutdown has been avoided after Congress agreed on a stopgap measure. 2 US Navy pilots have been recovered after an apparent friendly fire incident over the Red Sea. And Homeland Security Secretary Alejandro Mayorkas is concerned about online rhetoric following the killing of United Healthcare CEO Brian Thompson. And that is the latest from Feature Story News.
NASA's recent discovery of water on Mercury has led to speculation among scientists that the planet could potentially sustain an intergalactic space prison housing the universe's worst criminals. Scientists believe that organic compounds found on the planet's surface could be useful for creating an off-world space Australia, where strength is the only law. However, they caution it is too early to say whether or not fights among the space jail's prisoners would be broadcast here on Earth for the entertainment of wealthy gamblers. But NASA's lead researchers do say that Mercury's ability to support human life raises important questions about who the prison guards would be.
Perhaps the guards themselves would be space mercenaries, or maybe we'd just use robots.
The robots would have guns for hands.
Well, obviously.
Critics inside NASA caution against funneling too many resources into the Mercury project when it would be so much cooler to build a prison on the moon ruled by clones of the prisoners themselves. Researchers encourage the public to read their findings, which have been released in the form of a graphic novel titled The Mercury Cipher.
This is the Onion News Network.
Got Telegram? You can follow our channel there and discuss show prep with other listeners at telegram.freetalklive.com. Free Talk Live.
It's Free Talk Live, talk radio that you control, and 603-283-6160 is the phone number. That's 603-283-6160. And not your keys, not your Bitcoin is a lesson that too many people have learned the hard way. It's always best to get your crypto into a wallet that you control, but not all wallets are equal. Many of our hosts have been using Edge for years to manage crypto, and there just aren't many wallets to compare. Featuring a unique login system that makes it easier for you to access your crypto from multiple devices, Edge is designed to be user-friendly. In a space that can be notoriously difficult for non-tech people, Edge is a valuable tool for novices and experts alike. You can learn more at edge.app, that's edge.app, which features a link at the top for those who wish to learn more about crypto and wallets. Thank you to Edge for sponsoring Free Talk Live, and again, to learn more, visit edge.app. And with you on Free Talk Live tonight, you've got me, Bonnie.
Stu.
And Rich.
And again, that number is 603-283-6160 if you'd like to call in and bring up whatever's on your mind. I was thinking maybe we should cover the Flat Earth story, but instead I'm just going to tease it because I do want to talk about it, but usually it seems like Kadu is listening at the end of the show, and I want Kadu to...
That's his fault if he misses it.
Do you want to talk about that?
No, I don't care. Like, I don't want to. I'm not catering to callers, though.
Well, I just want to see if he'll call in because it's so timely.
Yesterday,
Kadu called in, and one of his topics, at least, was he was talking about how, there's this, like, this is the news in the
Flat Earth realm.
Yeah, the Flat Earth realm, and people are saying, it disproves Flat Earth, but Kadu disagrees. I want to get his opinion on it, but first, we have this story. I'm sure you brought in a different story about it, but you and Ian both brought in stories because he sent me this one about a man with long hair in Utah who is working as a Jesus model.
As a man with long hair and a beard, I can get behind this.
Yeah, Ian said he was like laughing and talking about it so much. I was like, Ian, I'm starting to think you're interested. And he was like, no, people have actually told me I look more like Satan.
Okay. There was one time, like the local theater had like open casting calls for Jesus. I was like, oh man, I should go
in
audition.
Manchester or like
Hawaii? I think it was back in Hawaii. But it was the local art house, whatever theater, and like open casting for Jesus. It's like, I've got a beard and long hair. I never did it, but it crossed my mind. My beard was a lot shorter back then, but still.
And the thing is, like, Jesus just has to have long hair and a beard, basically, because they depict him as like a European guy with blue eyes. So
Yes.
it's not
Especially the Mormons, yeah.
yeah.
Because white people.
In fact, I always see with Mormons they make him blonde too, and it's like funny because most of them are blonde.
Well, it says right in their doctrine that the more righteous you are, the more white and delightsome you become.
Oh, I had heard.
Isn't there a description of Jesus in the Bible too? And it's like dark skin with curly hair or something like that?
I don't
Someone
think
look
so.
that up.
It would be less of like a. I think it'd be less of like a, hey, we're all fighting about this. If there was a description of him, but
I think there
could
is.
be
I'll look it
wrong.
up. Yeah, whatever. I'll look it up later.
But
Look it up right now.
one thing I was gonna say was I hadn't heard exactly what you just said. What I had heard was more that the Mormons said, oh, black people turned black because they got cursed, and that was their curse to be black. But then they like redacted that. And the president said, oh, we don't believe that anymore. So they just, I don't know if they redacted it. Literally.
The story of the Nephites and the Lamanites is them going back and forth, taking turns being the bad guy and the good guy. And every time one or the other becomes more righteous, their skin gets lighter.
Here you go. Revelations 1:14 through 15. Jesus' skin was a darker hue, and that his hair was woolly in texture.
But are they saying darker than it was before, or like, is that a comparison, or are they saying darker than other skin tones? But honestly, I didn't know this.
Darker. I mean, how many white people you know that are darker than anybody else? They're white.
Stu.
Okay.
I don't know. You're just white, right?
Yeah, as far as I know.
Yeah.
But he's darker than white people.
I feel like I used to be like lighter than most white people, but something just happened and I'm like average.
Definitely don't have woolly hair, though.
The hair on his head were white as wool, white as snow. His eyes were like a flame of fire. His feet were like burnished bronze.
Well, this is afterlife
refined as
Jesus.
if in a furnace.
That's another thing I was going to actually say. You said it was from Revelation, so it wasn't him
Okay.
as a living person. It could
All
be
right.
like, oh, afterlife, he turned into this.
Whatever.
somehow.
That's the only description of him in the Bible.
Yeah,
you take from that what you want.
From that, I would take
but
away
that's
that
how
he's
the Bible describes
probably
him.
pretty dark.
Okay.
Yeah, but afterlife, it could be that he was like white with blonde hair and blue eyes,
Could
which I
be.
don't think. And then,
But that's not described anywhere.
no, I'm saying like it could be that he was.
You're right.
Like albino, and then died, and then he's described as being darker after in the afterlife.
Right. You can interpret his living self all you want, but the only description of him in the Bible is what I just read.
Yep, but it's also his afterlife, him in the afterlife.
Got it.
So
everything before that is just conjecture. But the one description you got, if you want to be like, what did Jesus look like? Figure it out from there.
And we don't even know what he's comparing it to. Is kind of another problem.
Okay.
It's like
All right.
darker than it was yesterday. Darker
Take it up with God, man. He wrote the thing.
And also, it's just like, I don't like Revelation. I feel like it's one of those things that definitely shouldn't have been added in. If anything should have been added in. That's just like getting too deep into it. I ain't here to argue about his facial features, as Kanye West said. The main topic of our
You mean
discussion.
what Jesus said?
No, he changed it to Ye, and
Oh,
I'm sorry,
okay.
I don't feel like calling him that.
You don't want to call him Jesus?
I guess I'm dead naming him.
Okay.
He's always been Kanye West. Come on.
All right.
And I feel like he hasn't been getting mad about people saying Kanye West or anything just because he like changed it to Ye, supposedly.
Whatever.
Anyways, he was Kanye West when he wrote Jesus Walks. So, so the main point of us talking about Jesus and what he looks like, and to be clear, I have no opinion. I'm not saying that I think he was blonde hair, blue eyed. I was more saying it's kind of funny that the Mormons make him blonde hair and blue eyed because most of them seem to be.
He also lived in the Middle East, and
Mhm.
how many like pasty white, blonde hair, blue eyed people were around there 2,000 years ago?
Yeah, I don't know. Probably not is what
Probably
I would guess. Or not a lot is what I'm about to say. I would guess. Because I mean, like, I know the Romans were down there, but I don't know if they were pasty white. Because, you know.
I also know Jesus is black because he told his followers that he was leaving and coming back, and it's been 2,000 years, and they're still waiting for him.
Oh my God. He didn't say when.
Exactly.
I actually don't know if he might have said when.
Just going out for a pack of cigarettes, kids.
That's ridiculous. I think he actually did kind of say when he said, like, all these things will come to pass before this generation is over. And I think when those things were supposed to be him coming back. Like,
All right.
all the things were supposed to come to pass. So, and they're still waiting for some reason.
Exactly.
One thing that Ian was saying was really funny when I visited him last is that this guy is described as this main guy that they talk about that is a model that models as Jesus. His name is Bob Sagers, and it says, Bob Sagers, a cheesemonger at Salt Lake City Salt Lake City grocery store. And he's just like, have you ever heard the word cheesemonger? And I was like, no. Apparently he sells cheese. Like, there's a whole name for that? A cheesemonger?
I've heard fishmonger, so I would assume it's just the same with cheese.
I know that the local chain there, Harmon's, takes their cheese sales very seriously.
There you go.
So I wouldn't be surprised to see that he works there.
I live so far away, I mean, like an hour and a half away from Salt Lake, so I've been in Harmon's once, and I was like, wow, this place is amazing, but I never actually, like, shopped there.
Oh, they were great. For the product quality they were selling, they were fairly affordable.
Would they sell out to Albertsons, though?
I don't know. Albertsons disappeared from Salt Lake when I was like in the 90s or something, early 90s.
I can't remember what was there. I know they had like a thing called Macy's, which was like the really cheapo one. But anyways,
I'm surprised that New York Macy's allowed that to happen.
I guess you're just making a joke about Albertsons and stuff. I know there were Albertsons.
Well, I'm just saying, if you find a good grocery store, they got decent prices, right, and they're not at a threat of being bought out. Why? Because competition in the marketplace.
No, this other Macy's was spelled with a C-E-Y-S. So
Okay.
Different spelling there.
It's like almost like shopping for groceries at a Dollar General.
Okay.
But like bigger. So this article from Wall Street Journal, it pays to have long hair and a beard in Utah. Jesus models are in demand. Lookalikes are being hired for family portraits and wedding announcements. Oh, it's so funny. But
can we nail you to a cross this Christmas? Or do we have to wait till Easter?
Oh my gosh, I wonder if he does any like that or if that's like over the line for them.
Okay.
You would think the people that are paying for it would be like, nah, we don't want to have you on the cross. I don't know though.
They do that in the Philippines for Easter.
Oh, I've been to a play where they put him on the cross in southern United States.
No, Filipinos like actually nail themselves to crosses.
Whoa.
Yeah. Look that up around Easter time.
No thanks.
Crazy.
But why? To say like if Jesus did it, we could do it too? Or
I don't know. It's whatever, some weird effect of their faith, man. Like they decide that they have to reproduce what happened, allegedly.
That's metal and really crazy. So, yes, this man is in people's family photos, like with his arm on people's shoulders and stuff like that, posed as Jesus. It says that Bob Sagers was walking around an indie music festival in Salt Lake City when a friendly stranger approached him and asked for his number. Has anyone ever told you that you have a Jesus look to you? The man asked. According to Sagers, a 25-year-old who works as a cheesemonger at a grocery store, and maybe it's what was it called, Harmon's? Maybe it's Harmon's. It wasn't a pickup line. The man's wife was an artist looking for religious models. I really didn't get that a lot, and honestly, he doesn't look like Jesus to me. He's got more like blonde hair, but I mean I guess that's what
Utah
Mormons.
Jesus.
Yeah, so Utah Jesus. But also he has, I don't know, he has a like pretty basic face. He doesn't look like Jesus to me, like Mel Gibson.
Too much of a Western American look.
He does. Mel Gibson is like. Oh wait, no, not Mel Gibson. Sorry, I meant to say the one who plays him in Mel Gibson's.
Oh, Jim Caviezel.
Thank you, Jim Caviezel. He just looks like Jesus. He's beautiful. If I had to have a Jesus model, and I don't know if he's too old now, but
okay,
Jim Caviezel in his 30s, and I had to have a Jesus model, it would be Jim Caviezel.
That would be it. Okay.
But I don't have to have a Jesus model. But he said, I really didn't get that a lot. And he's 6'5" with dirty blonde, shoulder-length hair and a beard that he says gives Irish and Scandinavian vibes, and it really does. Way more than Jesus vibes to me. Like seriously, he looks way more Irish, Scandinavian.
AI Jesus.
Like he should be in like a Renaissance fair more than me. I wouldn't look at him and be like, that guy looks like Jesus.
You know who you remind me of? Thor.
Yeah. Has anyone ever told you look like Thor? Could I have your number? That man basically did that.
And more the Thor from like Adventures in Babysitting than the Marvel movies.
I don't know what that is.
Oh, you should watch that movie.
Oh, it's a movie?
Yeah.
I haven't seen that for so long. That's only like tugging at my memory strings there.
Watch it again with Lori.
This is like the 1000th time you guys have told me, or like on this Sunday, I've learned about some 80s cartoon.
So I had a friend who would always tell me to watch movies. And at some point, his movie recommendations were so bad, I'd be like, all right, dude, like what? I'll watch the movie, but is it like, are you staking your movie reputation on it? Or can I put this on the back burner when I'm bored and have nothing else to do?
Mm-hmm.
You know, and I would probably say Adventures in Babysitting, it's a good movie. It probably doesn't hold up to today, but there's so many better movies. But if you're bored and have nothing better to do, it's a great movie.
Yeah.
Okay.
I wouldn't put my reputation on it, but it should be watched at some point.
Movie ever
That's
created.
about how I remember it. Yep.
Yeah.
Artistic excellence.
Yeah.
Just like these Jesus pictures. So it says that's how he began, and he says, I make for a pretty tall Jesus. Which also, that's the thing, I don't really think of Jesus as tall. And also, like, whenever there's this argument on, like, social media and you see articles pop up and people are, like, using what they have for evidence and, hey, well, take that. A lot of the time I see this one thing that says that Jesus would have been really short.
Okay.
Like, they'll say, like, this is what we expect Jesus looked like. And it was definitely, like, a guy with, like, brown skin, brown eyes. And then they always say, like, he was, like, 5 feet tall or something.
Oh, probably. Oh, okay, whatever. I don't
Maybe
think he's 5 feet tall.
that short, but like 5'5" or something.
Again, just if you just look at the historical record of like the area that he was supposed to be living in and how tall those people are.
Yeah, even just
right?
like
they're not
200
Scandinavians.
years ago here,
Yeah.
like the houses here are legitimately too small for my sister's boyfriend who's from Oregon.
Yeah.
It's like people are just got, and I say that because we live in New England and houses are super old.
Yep.
Like my bathroom is like, he hates it. It's like a torture chamber for him.
I also hate your bathroom.
Yeah. Yeah, good. I just asked you guys.
Yeah.
It's fine for me, but it says models who look
The
like
sink
Jesus.
like shoots over the toilet area.
Yeah, but I like fit in there.
Okay. But
I
even you have to like swing your legs under the sink to, you know, sit properly.
Don't.
You
I
don't?
think that
You sit sideways?
No,
Or
I
at
just
an angle?
I just don't, like, my legs are not under the sink. It's kind of to my front end
All
right
right.
still. But I feel like that might be like maybe you've exaggerated in your head now because it's like so bad because it looks like it's almost doing that. But then again, I'm just smaller than you, so
Yeah.
it could be that your leg is literally under there.
I think
But
my leg would have to be under there for me to center myself on the toilet.
I'm not being like defensive about my bathroom. Like
Okay.
I know it's super tiny, but
Yeah.
I fit in there, and my feet.
It's
like,
not the size,
centered.
it's the configuration. That's
Yeah,
all.
that is true too. And Ian said that either he thinks or he was told that it actually used to be a laundry room.
Okay.
And that actually totally checks out because that's like a laundry room type.
Where was
sink
the bathroom?
To me, I don't know.
Okay.
It used to be like
An
one
outhouse?
big house.
Okay.
Oh yeah, maybe.
All right.
Because from 1890,
All
this
right.
house.
Fair enough.
And like it's a duplex now. It used to be one big house. So.
Okay. So the bathroom was on the other side.
I don't know.
Could be.
I don't know if it was even that bathroom. Their configuration is better for some reason.
And Ian chose this side.
Yeah, I always ask him why he chose the side. There's multiple reasons why that side is better, and I ultimately, it was just because a renter that he inherited was over there.
Okay.
Selling weed, trashing the place, then they abandoned it. Yeah.
All right.
And that's those freaking buttholes reasons are why I'm on this side.
You're being penalized for their choices.
Yeah.
Their poor life choices have cost you a bathroom.
But to be fair, Ian has got a bunch of stuff fixed since I moved in because it's like he was putting up with all kinds of stuff, and I was like, I don't know if I can put up with this, and it got fixed. So I'm not like complaining.
That's the incentive he needed.
Yeah, it is. Like he had for watching TV in his room, he just had like some lawn chairs. And then when I like first ever came over here, I was like, oh, that really sucks that we're just like sitting in lawn chairs in your room. Not my first ever came over here, but one of the times I came over here, and he got a couch for like the first time ever because of that.
Well played, Ian.
Nice.
So models who look like Jesus are in high demand in Utah. It's kind of funny how much we talk about Utah for this show.
Well, specifically because I know you guys have a Utah connection. If I see anything funny that has the word Utah in it, I just throw it in the pile. So
It seems
then it's
like
relatable.
A lot is in the news about Utah, though, too.
Models that look like Thor can pretend to be models of Jesus in Utah.
It occurred to me today that in like October, I'll have been here longer than I've been in Utah, too. So I guess I should drop the fake Utah in, but I'm fake everywhere anyway, military brat. So, yeah. Models who look like Thor and not like Jesus at all. And legitimately, like, he does have like an Irish look. Like, my thought was kind of like he could be like Jay Noon's brother.
Okay.
Especially like the face configuration and shape. And that's not what I think of for Jesus at all. But I feel like a lot of people, I hate to be maybe like assuming something about what people are thinking, but I'm just saying it seems like this is possible. It's kind of my assumption that a lot of people just make Jesus look like whatever they look like because that's what they want. They feel like it would be best. Well, I really hope that he looked like me because that's like the best,
Yeah.
Because black people are cursed.
Makes it more relatable.
In their opinion. No, I'm just kidding.
A lot of Mormons would have a very difficult time with the notion that Jesus may have been very dark-skinned, black.
With woolly hair.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know if that's like a thing, like what you're trying to say, like just because they aren't used to it or something. I met this one black kid. I was like also like a kid, like 19, and he was adopted by white parents or people in Utah and like raised Mormon, and he was telling me how he's like, I'm starting to think I don't believe this stuff. And I was like, well, like why would you want to be in the religion of people that like talk about you like you're cursed for being black? And he was like, what? He didn't know. And I didn't like give him verses. Apparently I was like a little off on the story.
Okay.
But he had never heard about it, so like his white adopted parents did not tell him, and they also took his name away.
Also means he didn't read the book.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's true.
You gotta read the book.
When they adopted him, he had a more like black name, and they're like, your name, and he was like 10. They're like, we're not going to call you that. We're going to call you like Josh.
It's like a rescue pet.
Yeah, seriously. So I'm okay. That doesn't speak for all
We're going to give
Mormons.
you a Christian name.
Yeah, and they said it.
Not an African name.
They said we're going to give you a name from our family. Is how they spun that. I'm not saying that reflects all Mormons or anything. But
Your
that's
real
an
dad went out for
experience.
cigarettes, so we're going to call you Josh.
That tracks with a lot of my Mormon culture experience, yeah.
Interesting.
The name change? Or
all of that.
Okay.
Yep. Yep. Adopting a black child, or they really like Russian children, and but they'll adopt children from wherever, but mostly not American children.
Just get more wives and have more children.
Russians made it
in.
harder to adopt from Russia, like starting at the beginning of Biden's term, because Biden like was doing all this stuff that Russia didn't
Backing
like.
the Ukraine? You don't say.
Yeah, but like before the Ukraine stuff started.
Okay.
Ukraine is harder because they're like, is an active war going on there? But then Russia was like, we're not selling to America, or selling. I don't know. I mean, you don't have to pay. You do have to pay, is what I meant to say. So back to these Utah Jesus. It says, there is a growing number of people in the state. For a growing number of people in the state, a picture isn't complete without him. They are hiring Jesus lookalikes for family portraits and wedding announcements. That's one of the weirder ones.
What did they do before this guy came along?
Edited him in?
Okay.
No.
I mean, if you couldn't do it, like, oh, my wedding announcement has to have Jesus in it, or my Christmas photo has to have Jesus in it, and you didn't have this guy available.
Probably. Mormons are so crafty; they probably just make a cardboard stand-up.
Okay.
Jesus.
I don't know. I've never seen a wedding announcement with Jesus in it before or after this.
Is it just trendy now?
A little weirder. I did see something about this like a month ago. So when Ian asked me, I was like, I did see something about this, and it was people arguing on Twitter about whether or not it's sacrilegious. Like some people would say it is. I think that's really silly. Like, what's sacrilegious about depicting Jesus? He's not Muhammad. They're not Muslims,
Right.
And also, sacrilege is kind of fun, so get over it.
It's kind of fun. So it says, models are showing up to walk with a newly engaged couple through a field. Oh, sorry, I said walk because I was thinking
They're going
about
to line up like the superheroes in New York. Like, just get your picture taken with this celebrity Jesus now.
Pick the Jesus, like go up and put your arm next to him and choose one closest to
I
your
like
skin
his
color.
robe better on his robe.
It's Jesus Day at the mall.
603-283-6160. It's Free Talk Live. More coming up. Don't go anywhere. Bring up whatever's on your mind. 603-283-6160. More Free Talk Live coming up.
This hour of Free Talk Live is brought to you by Dash Digital Cash. Dash is the cryptocurrency designed to be used for spending. In addition to being one of the world's first cryptocurrencies, Dash was the first crypto project to have a decentralized autonomous organization that to this day continues to improve and promote Dash. Every month, 10% of the mining rewards go into a treasury. Anyone with one Dash to spend can put forward a proposal to the Dash masternodes. The masternodes vet the proposals and decide which ones move forward and are funded by that treasury. Nowadays, DAOs are plentiful, but Dash paved the way by doing it first, nearly a decade ago. Dash is one of the oldest cryptocurrencies and is widely available on exchanges, including the decentralized Maya protocol, and in multi-crypto wallets. It's easy to get and use Dash. Start by learning more at dash.org. Thanks to the Dash DAO for sending us 32 Dash per month to promote Dash on the air. Visit dash.org to learn about Dash. Dash.org.
From Feature Story News in Washington, I'm Jagruti Dave. A holiday season US government shutdown has been avoided after Congress agreed on a stopgap measure. The House passed it by 366 to 34, with the Senate following suit, passing the bipartisan funding bill by a vote of 85 to 11. Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer praised the development, capping a chaotic week that saw President-elect Trump and Elon Musk cast doubt on whether an agreement could be reached.
There will be no government shutdown right before Christmas. This is a good bill. It'll keep the government open.
The short-term funding bill signed by President Biden includes $100 billion for disaster relief, $30 billion for farmers, and a one-year extension on the Farm Bill. It does not include Trump's demand to either raise or abolish the debt ceiling, which was not popular with many in the Republican Party. 2 US Navy pilots have been recovered after an apparent friendly fire incident over the Red Sea. US forces were engaged in strikes against Yemen's Houthi rebels. We get more from Scott Carr.
Central Command says the pilot's FA-18 Super Hornet jet had just taken off from the USS Harry S. Truman aircraft carrier early Sunday when it was fired upon with a guided cruise missile from the USS Gettysburg. No explanation was given. Officials say both pilots were able to safely eject, with only one of them sustaining minor injuries. An investigation is underway. I'm Scott Carr in Washington.
Homeland Security Secretary Alejandro Mayorkas is concerned about online rhetoric following the killing of United Healthcare CEO Brian Thompson. Appearing on CBS's Face the Nation, Mayorkas said his agency is watching the outpouring of support on social media for Thompson's alleged assassin.
It speaks of what is really bubbling here in this country, and unfortunately, we see that manifested in violence.
Luigi Mangione is accused of gunning down Thompson on the morning of December the 4th in New York City. He was arrested less than a week later with a manifesto that appears to express anger at the private health insurance industry for denying patients life-saving medical care. US Senator Ben Cardin says the country needs tougher regulations on drone flying within its borders. In an interview on Fox News Sunday, the Maryland Democrat indicated concerns over recent drone sightings across the US are being overblown.
Well, in regards to the recent observations, we've been informed that there's no threat against our country.
He added there are already a massive number of private drones that fly around the US at any given time, along with planes that some concerned residents have misidentified.
Our Matrix server is about as free as internet chat can be. Join the existing rooms or create your own at chat.freetalklive.com.
It's Free Talk Live, 603-283-6160. That's 603-283-6160. And I'd like to thank Steve for being an amplifier with us here at Free Talk Live. That means that Steve went to amps.freetalklive.com and signed up to support the show. AMPS stands for Advertise, Market, Promote, and Support. Thanks to Steve and everyone who supports us. And again, that's amps.freetalklive.com if you'd like to check out the perks and benefits of becoming an amplifier. And with you on Free Talk Live tonight, you've got me, Bonnie,
Stu,
and Richie Rich.
And we do have a caller on the line. It's a little it's a little early for you, Kadu, but I wanted to bring up this story about the flat Earth and can talk about it with you. And I waited because I thought you usually listen in the third hour. You there, Kadu?
I'm just really depressed about something. I'm pretty down right now because
they proved the Earth round again.
No, not to do with that. I'm really upset because I'm too broke and stupid to be accepted as a member of Bonneville.
I was saying on Twitter, where Kadu follows me, that I wish that I could live in a city with no welfare and people who came in had to have a mixture of certain things. It's like you could be poor, but you have a lot of people vouch for you that you are a good person, and you have a certain amount of, what was the other thing I said, Kadu? IQ. And you can't have zero of...
It's going to be a problem.
You can't have zero of any of those things. You can't score an F on any of those things. And the reason is because every time I go out into the world and deal with just like normies, even in New Hampshire, I get like abused, literally. I went and did some Uber Eats yesterday for fun, and the two, fast food restaurants I was at had some stupid, quote unquote, like one-sided fight with a retard. And it's just like, I hate this world. I want to live in a place without them. And a lot of times they're
Who's
just like
homeless people. Who's going to clean the toilets in Bonneville?
People don't have to be like...
It's going to be smelly and filled with garbage?
People don't have to be a certain level of anything to work for people in Bonneville, but you can't live there.
All right.
And I also think like if
it's
you're
like a resort town in Colorado.
If you're gainfully employed and you understand where you're going and you'll get fired if you don't act right, then that'll clean itself right up. It's like right now I have to live among whoever feels like being here because, well, the welfare state's going to pay for them to stay here, even if it was too, not that I think like Keene is too nice for them right now, but...
Didn't we look this up? Isn't New Hampshire in like the top 5 for IQ in the country?
Yeah, I've heard that's like 2 or 3 or something.
I thought we looked it up with Lori once.
And that's actually kind of hilarious because it's just like, I think averages are so stupid on this. Like Jeremy Kaufman is always on Twitter like, white people on average, highest IQs, and it's like really by a small margin if you look at it. And it's just like all 3 of these people I had problems with yesterday, one was in a grocery store, 2 were in fast food, were white. So being an ethnicity isn't a good parameter to me. Go ahead, Kadu.
I didn't get the rule, though. You, as a male in Bonneville, you have to be at least 5'7". And then when I told you, well, I'm 5'6" and a half, could you round up? And you said, round up for you? Like, you were like, no way.
That didn't happen. None of that happened.
How do you even get a date at 5'7"? Jeez.
None of that happened.
I can't believe when you said that. And
you look tall in your picture.
And then you said you have to have at least a 7-inch member, and that was ridiculous.
None of that happened at all. That didn't happen.
Crazy.
I put a very short...
Just ask her if she'll round up from 3.
Put a very short description of what Bonnie Dream City is. I've actually tweeted about it before, and people who think I'm turning right-wing were saying like, oh, this is your new arc. I was like, I've been talking about getting rid of the welfare people since day one. I was never a leftist, and then Sarah just disappeared. I got rid of her. I got rid of the welfare people, and I beat Medicaid.
Richie's a savage tonight with the 3-inch thing. I was actually going to call to ask how that eminent domain thing was going.
Oh,
the eminent domain thing was,
Yeah, I just kind of talked about that a little bit, but it's not really going anywhere yet. Basically, the city of Keene started this proposal for working on a road where the Shire Free Church owns a building, and in their proposal, they want to put a roundabout where there could totally be a light, and it's going to take multiple people's land from them, but one of the people affected would be the Shire Free Church. So I just went to a meeting. Yeah, it's not even a hearing. It's just a meeting, like a public meeting, and they were all being super nice. Like, Oh, you're Bonnie Freeman. We were wondering how we were going to contact Ian. We would love to get in contact with you. And being all nice.
Posted on the website.
And it's like, well, yeah, there is a website, but how was I supposed to know it's like cityofkeene.blah-blah-blah.projects. Like that kind of thing?
No, I mean, not that. I mean, the way to contact Ian is like posted on the website.
Oh,
Yeah, that's not a hard thing to do.
Just
That's pretty true.
Google, how do you contact Ian Freeman in jail? And like, boom, it pops right up.
That actually probably would pop right up, yeah. But
Yeah.
that's what they're saying. And
Liars.
Basically,
Yeah.
the meeting I went to was all for them to be like, here's our plan, and we all have a plan for you guys' property, and this is what we're gonna do to make the roads better. And
My plan for my property is to not give it to you.
yeah, so I'm not sure if we're gonna do something like try to fight it, because the other thing is we're also like currently looking into selling it, and we started the process, but we're not like in the process of selling it. Like, we don't have a buyer. We don't even have like a real estate agent right now.
You should fight it before you get a buyer, because they're going to drop the price. If they're going to take part of the land. What's that could do?
Just one place, or like, what do you own?
No, it's just one property, yeah. It's just like a little chunk of it too.
Now, I will say this: I prefer roundabouts to lights.
I do too, but that I totally do.
Not eminent domaining people's property to do it.
They
but
did the same thing over by Walmart where they could have put a light or something else, but they did a roundabout and they took a gas station's land from them.
Yeah, that's terrible.
And it took them like 2 years because somebody messed up and they had to redo a bunch of stuff. And
Whoa.
it was retarded.
They're already planning for this to take 2 years. So anytime you leave Keene in 2027 to 2028 or 2029, sorry, it's going to be an absolute hassle if you go to 101.
You didn't think there's any political motivation? It's just a coincidence?
I do think it's just a coincidence, to be honest, because so like whenever the city or the state wants to do a certain thing, they get given they're using federal money. They said so in the meeting. So they're
even worse.
They're getting federal money to do with things. So the thing about it is they're gonna want to do it for as cheap as possible to keep as much money for themselves. And this is just what one person told me, but one person told me that the roundabouts are cheaper than putting in a light.
Okay.
So it's like they said in the meeting it will cost $17 million just in construction for this. So constructing a roundabout's apparently cheaper than a light.
Okay.
So, they get to pocket more of the money. So that's probably why they're always putting roundabouts in Keene where there could be lights.
It'll be harder to challenge, too, because eminent domain is constitutional. And this isn't like taking your land for private use, which is what the big challenges have been.
Right, it's for the roadways.
For the road. Yeah.
That's kind of one justification that's tough to get past if you want to.
Yeah. I don't think we're really looking into like...
But a free state protest, right, going like, you're not taking this, might deter them.
Yeah. I don't know, but thanks for asking, Stu. I hadn't really gotten into all that. It might be more of a big deal later on, or it might become less of a big deal. It's just so funny that I went to a meeting with a bunch of people talking about their plan for our property and other people in the room's property, and then at the end, even the people who expressed like concern on they're given the mic and had a question, they expressed concern. Everybody but me claps at the end. It's just like, what freaking brain?
I hope,
nerds.
Whatever. I hope you got up and spoke and said like, it's morally wrong and there's no imperative for you to have plans for my property despite what the federal government documents say is allowed.
No, I didn't do anything to fight with them. All I did at this meeting was go and fact find for like Ian and them. So Kadu,
I would have yelled.
Don't really have time to, read this article just like with you on the phone or anything, I don't think, but what do you have to
The Earth is round, spherical.
What do you have to say about this guy who admits that he was wrong after traveling 9,000 miles to Antarctica to test his belief? Because, Rich didn't hear you yesterday, and like other people might not. And we're going to get into this article.
Bonnie didn't post a podcast for me.
Yeah, I had to leave.
Bonnie. Kadu?
Yeah. What was the question? You just want to know what I thought about it?
Did you see the article? Did you see the guy who, went to Antarctica and saw the never-ending sun?
I didn't see the article. Yeah, I watched some videos about it. That guy's name is Jaronism. He's a YouTuber, and then there's another one called Austin Whitsitt. And yeah, I think most flat earthers were of the belief that it would be impossible to see a 24-hour sun in Antarctica, which they supposedly observed, unless you're one of the people who thinks that they faked that. I don't think that they faked it. I think it was real. But there are some flat earthers who have a model which accounts for a 24-hour sun. They believe like there's this dome up top, and that it's basically an impenetrable dome, and you can't go to space. And so there are some flat Earth models. I don't understand it, but there are flat Earth models where apparently they can account for a 24-hour sun happening in Antarctica.
You don't have to understand it, but is that the model that you believe to be true?
Oh no, I'm actually just like Bonnie and Stu. Basically, I don't believe that we're in a spinning globe in outer space, and they faked all the pictures or CGI. And
so you're just saying you're like open-minded, but you don't have some kind of deep belief on one way or the other?
Yeah, I think I believe more than you two, like more strongly that we're not on a spinning ball, like maybe by 20 percentage points more or something. But other than that, I mean, I don't know that it's flat for sure or anything like that.
What evidence would it take for you to say like we are on a spinning ball through space? Like how would someone be able to be convincing to you with evidence?
Even just some pictures that aren't CGI would help. When you look into it, of pictures of the Earth from space, you know, the ones that purportedly show the whole thing, you get all these pictures that look nothing alike. Like they're like the color is way different. Even like also there's even pictures where like the whole like all you see on like the whole one side of the Earth, right, would be like North America, and the rest of everything is supposed to be on the other side of that globe. You know, all those other continents, and they would never fit. So it's like an obvious fabrication, and they don't even call them pictures. Sorry, they do call them pictures. They don't call them photographs. They'll just call them images or pictures, so they won't be specifically lying.
I'm pretty sure there's been times where they were like NASA were pushed because people saw some kind of inconsistency. Like there's this one tool called Clone in Photoshop, and people saw that these clouds were cloned all over an image of the planet, and when they were like pushed, they're like, oh well, the thing is, this has always been a CGI representation. We weren't claiming it was an actual photograph, you know. So.
Okay, so but if they said like this is a photograph of Earth from space, my general thought is flat earthers would reject it because they're not the ones taking the photograph.
Yeah, and I had a question kind of related to that about Cadu. It's just like, even if somebody went to Antarctica and they saw what they witnessed, a 24-hour sun, they said, it's not that you have to believe they quote unquote faked it, but you could believe that that person faked their video of going there. You know, like it's just like, I don't understand why.
All the flat earthers would have to take that same trip and each be individually convinced that what they saw was real.
Yeah.
I personally believe that what they saw was real, and I don't think that YouTuber either is like a quote unquote shill for the globe and you know is working for the globe people, but I think he was like, they used him as like a useful idiot, you know, and whoever offered him the trip, that this was going to be a final proof that you know, the flat Earth is impossible. And so I think they basically just used those YouTubers, and I think it's a straw man that like that. I mean, is what they called it was the final experiment, and I think maybe, you know, it means something, but I don't think it's maybe as significant as they're saying.
Depending on who you believe, right? Like the proof goes back as far as Archimedes, right? He had the slave or whatever dude, you know, walk a certain distance and take measurements. And I'm like, well, based on how far he walked and, you know, the measurements of the shadows, we can do the math based on math at the time that this is the shape and this is the distance and
whatever. Wait, he said it was a globe, or he said it was flat?
No, he said it was a globe.
Oh.
Because the shadow distance based in certain areas at specific certain times of the day. Like this is, you know, hundreds or I don't know when was Archimedes around, thousands of years, right? And that was the model. And everything that supports terrestrial based proof like follows that model. So, and you can call all of them useful idiots, but all the flat earthers that like test the terrestrial models go like, I guess it is a globe, right? Based on the curvature.
Do you know if anybody's tried to redo Archimedes' specific things he said he did?
No, that'd be foolish because he sent the slave to go walk. But I mean, the guys who set up the guys who set up the
now.
Yeah, well, I mean, the guys who set up the camera, like, we're setting up a camera here, and if the Earth is flat over here, you'll see the light shine through the hole.
Mm-hmm.
But if the Earth is a curve, the light will appear above the hole because the curvature goes down. And if you raise up the hole, then it lines up again, and you can measure the curvature. And they go like, my goodness, the light doesn't shine through the hole, guys. There's a curve here.
I think that guy was called something different than Archimedes. I don't remember the name, but like most flat earthers are under the impression that was a fabrication, and that actually
okay.
The other thing that they
but the video with the light in the hole is on YouTube.
But the thing is, I've also heard people claim things
and you can
like
do it
what
yourself.
You're saying, but they all say you could do it yourself, and it's the other way around. It's like, I don't have the numbers right in front of me, but I've also heard people say the same thing opposite direction. Like, you can measure from here to here. Go ahead.
The interesting thing is they were apparently, which, I didn't know, still teaching the flat Earth model, or at least the idea the Earth is flat, and along with the globe model, because they didn't know as recently as like the, I think into like the 1940s, they were still, and Flat Earth Dave guy has one video where he's at one of these, senior citizen home, and he interviews this 102-year-old lady who, she seems like she still has good cognitive function, and like because she remembered like all this stuff from the past, and so he's asking her, "What were you taught in school?" And she's about the shape of the Earth, and she says, "We were taught it was flat." That was weird. Like this, this past century.
If you go to religious school, they'll also teach you certain religious schools that the Earth is only like 6,000 years old, and the dinosaurs are fake, right? So depends on the quality of the institution.
That's an interesting point. I didn't think of that.
Plus, I mean,
that's why I'm here.
But then,
schools could teach something wrong. So
they do.
That is interesting, though.
Then in the video, he tells her that it's flat, and she's like. And she starts like breaking down in tears, and she's like, "Oh, I'm so happy it's flat." It was a crazy video. Actually.
Why would she be so happy?
Because it lines up with what she was taught in school.
Religion, yeah, and also the whole like religious aspect. A lot of flat earthers have a religious angle where they think, this fact that we're under a dome and it's flat really like gives our life form meaning, because they think that if we're in infinite space, that really dilutes our meaning relative to everything.
That's like religion as well.
I used to kind of feel that way.
You suffer here for the afterlife. Everything gets better later when it's too late to fix anything.
I used to feel that way. The thing is, I used to understand, like, what he just described. I felt that way. Well, if space is almost never ending to my mind, that means I'm so insignificant, and that's sad. And it's the same type of time period when I used to feel like if I'm gonna die, I'm freaking out about the idea that I'm gonna die, and I don't feel like that anymore, because my new belief, and I'm not saying I know this as a fact, I'm saying it's my belief, is that everybody is everything is God, and we're all one, and the bigger the universe is, that just, it doesn't matter, because, or the bigger it gets, it doesn't really matter, because we're all connected, and somehow there's like, I'm connected to all of it, so it shouldn't really like harm me or diminish my life for it to be larger anymore.
I'm still the opposite, right? Like, I recognize that in the grand scheme of things, my life is very insignificant, but it is mine. And I'm going to maximize it to the best of my ability, because I only get one shot at this.
And I'm not even necessarily saying just because like God is everything and we're all one, that my life is more significant. It just depends on what you mean by that, because I'm not saying like I'm more important than other people.
Well, I mean, bring it down to, the human level, right? What it is, the trope about communism is like one death is a tragedy, a million deaths is a statistic, right? All of those deaths are insignificant to the leader, whose whole purpose is to regain control of everybody. Like, your life doesn't matter.
Really, that's a million tragedies, though.
It is a million tragedies, but nobody cares about them, to the state, right? Like Ian being in jail, nothing.
To most libertarians.
To most libertarians, it's a real tragedy that Ian's in jail.
I'm saying the opposite. I'm saying like, and it's not just Ian. It's like a ton of libertarians have come out and said things like, "I don't care if Ross gets out at the cost of Trump being elected. I don't want Ross out." You guys need to be on Twitter sometimes for these like disgusting people, including Jeff Berwick. I actually was kind of disgusted by him, and I didn't want to say it yesterday because like Jay's like going to his whole thing and like.
Jeff Berwick's got some problems and he knows it.
Don't go on Twitter unless you want to be mad all the time.
Yeah.
I'm on Twitter a lot, but I don't follow those pages when I'm on Twitter because I go there for like retro video gaming news and announcements and stuff. And so my Twitter experience or exit is very enjoyable.
Yeah.
I go, ooh, new products to make my retro games better. Fantastic. I love this.
I'm mad at Kadu every day I get on Twitter.
Okay.
I'm just kidding.
But anyway, I don't think we should get all of our meaning from the shape of the earth. Definitely. I mean, maybe some of it, but I also think even though it's not everything, if we are being lied to about it, we may as well know about it. It's as important as, anything else.
That would be a good lie to expose because then nobody could any longer say, oh, they would never do that.
Yeah.
Well, and let's assume that they didn't go to the moon. Does that affect you day to day? Like, who cares?
No, it just, bolsters the argument that you're constantly being lied to.
Okay.
Is all.
Well, but there's plenty of verifiable conspiracies. Where you go like, they clearly lied about this. Here's the evidence.
It kind of does affect me
the
day
government.
to day. I would say this is how it affects me day to day. I have to live amongst people, and they still don't allow me to do what he called in about at the beginning of the show, start my own city, and really decide who I want to actually live in community amongst.
Well,
but let me say, 99% of the people I deal with living in like the United States of America, or honestly the whole globe, believe a bunch of lies, and it even comes down to like silly little social things that irk me, but I know it's like I'm being lied to. Like when people say like Jennifer Lawrence is the most beautiful person on earth, she has a fat face and she is ugly and plain and she has like tiny eyeballs. Why am I being lied to about that? Like,
I think she's hot.
99% of people think she's like the hottest chick on earth. Like I'm being lied to. A better example is
I'm in the
Taylor
99%.
Swift. A better example is Taylor Swift.
Okay.
Like, oh, she's the best pop star that ever lived and is doing best. I don't believe that. It's just like what Kanye West said about Radio lied to you. Don't know why so much Kanye
But how big of a
tonight.
city do you want? Because you can buy land, right? And like within the last week or two,
I can't do what I want to do. Just
there's a ghost town for sale in Texas for like $100,000.
it doesn't matter. They're
If the
gonna come
city's
into.
built in.
They're gonna come into my.
Yeah, I think
land.
Bonnie's right. That would never fly. They're
Yeah.
like,
How would
you're
that not fly?
The
Because
government would come, but also
you
just
own
like
the land.
people I
well,
don't
because
want
of
to be
things
there
like
would come.
things like equal opportunity employment laws and just if she wants to harshly discriminate on who can and can't be there, they're gonna rake her over the coals on that.
I want
Because
to
I
literally
wouldn't
physically
post it
remove
outside.
because of equality and all of that.
I wouldn't post it outside. I wouldn't put a sign on the door that says
But the
like you
thing
have
is-
to be white and 6'4" and
It
whatever.
wouldn't be that for the record, but also if people, if it became like one of the most prosperous places on the planet, which it would, Bonnie Dream City, people are going to want to be there and be like, hey, now we need welfare. Actually, we need a free train. Actually, we
No,
need...
because it's not a real city. It's Bonnie's private property.
But they will come there, and it's just, I don't think I have even like, even if like the church wanted to devote all of its money to a Bonnie's Dream City, I don't really think, I think that would cost like billions of dollars,
No, you got it's
It'd be an
again it's built in
interesting experience.
$100,000 for a ghost town.
I also
all
don't-
the
and strong
infrastructure
monarch
buildings there.
Bonnie
I don't
gets
want
to
to live in
create
a
all the
place
rules.
that's tiny either. It's just like Mark's whole thing with the island. I don't want to live in a tiny island either.
It's Texas.
603-283-6160. It's Free Talk Live. 603-283-6160. I also don't want to live in Texas. That's why I moved to New Hampshire. More Free Talk Live coming up.
On Free Talk Live, we're bringing people to the ideas of liberty every day. From wrestling superstars like Glenn Jacobs.
You guys really are having an impact, I believe. Like I said, a lot of where I am now is due to listening to Free Talk Live. You changed my mind on some very important issues years ago.
To random people tuning in on the radio.
I was kind of stuck in the left-right paradigm. I heard your show by chance on a Saturday night. From there, I went on, joined the Free State Project, and become an amplifier. So, I mean, that's really the reason why I amp is because I know that if it wasn't for you guys being on as many stations as you are, I never would have found the ideas of liberty.
You can help more people hear the message of liberty by joining Free Talk Live's AMPS program on Patreon for as little as $5 a month. And you'll get access to special perks. Visit amps.freetalklive.com, amps.freetalklive.com.
There are basically two types of advertising, direct response and branding. Radio's great for direct response with its low cost to listener ratio, but audio can't be beat for branding, which is a longer-term endeavor. You want to be the first thing that someone thinks of when they think about your product or service. If you have a local business that you want kept top of mind in your community, call the station. If you need national reach, Free Talk Live's got around 200 radio stations, millions of monthly listening sessions, can suit all budgets, and if we don't think we're right for you, we'll tell you. Email me, mark@freetalklive.com.
Tired of cancel culture? Sick of mega tech corporations holding an axe over your head? Join the LRN.FM Matrix chat server. It's self-hosted, so no one else can tell us what to do or say. Don't like the existing channels? You can make your own. You can even connect into some of our channels from other Matrix servers. It's federated. For the full LRN.FM Matrix experience, though, you should join our server via the step-by-step instructions at chat.lrn.fm. chat.lrn.fm.
You're listening to the live edition of Free Talk Live. Hour number 3 is next after the news here on the Liberty Radio Network at LRN.FM.
From Feature Story News in Washington, I'm Jagruti Dave. A holiday season US government shutdown has been avoided after Congress agreed on a stopgap measure. The House passed it by 366 to 34, with the Senate following suit, passing the bipartisan funding bill by a vote of 85 to 11. Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer praised the development, capping a chaotic week that saw President-elect Trump and Elon Musk cast doubt on whether an agreement could be reached.
There will be no government shutdown right before Christmas. This is a good bill. It'll keep the government open.
The short-term funding bill signed by President Biden includes $100 billion for disaster relief, $30 billion for farmers, and a one-year extension on the Farm Bill. It does not include Trump's demand to either raise or abolish the debt ceiling, which was not popular with many in the Republican Party. 2 US Navy pilots have been recovered after an apparent friendly fire incident over the Red Sea. US forces were engaged in strikes against Yemen's Houthi rebels. We get more from Scott Carr.
Central Command says the pilot's FA-18 Super Hornet jet had just taken off from the USS Harry S. Truman aircraft carrier early Sunday when it was fired upon with a guided cruise missile from the USS Gettysburg. No explanation was given. Officials say both pilots were able to safely eject, with only one of them sustaining minor injuries. An investigation is underway. I'm Scott Carr in Washington.
Homeland Security Secretary Alejandro Mayorkas is concerned about online rhetoric following the killing of United Healthcare CEO Brian Thompson. Appearing on CBS's Face the Nation, Mayorkas said his agency is watching the outpouring of support on social media for Thompson's alleged assassin.
It speaks of what is really bubbling here in this country, and unfortunately, we see that manifested in violence.
Luigi Mangione is accused of gunning down Thompson on the morning of December the 4th in New York City. He was arrested less than a week later with a manifesto that appears to express anger at the private health insurance industry for denying patients life-saving medical care. US Senator Ben Cardin says the country needs tougher regulations on drone flying within its borders. In an interview on Fox News Sunday, the Maryland Democrat indicated concerns over recent drone sightings across the US are being overblown.
Well, in regards to the recent observations, we've been informed that there's no threat against our country.
He added there are already a massive number of private drones that fly around the US at any given time, along with planes that some concerned residents have misidentified as drones. From bureaus worldwide, this is FSN.
With FSN Spotlight, I'm Simon Marks, spending this week casting a gaze into our 2025 crystal ball with the help of the New York Times chief diplomatic correspondent Steve Erlinger. One of the most seasoned and nuanced observers globally, he's been talking to America's Council on Foreign Relations about the issues he will be watching over the next 12 months.
October 7th, when Hamas went and invaded Israel, was like the fall of the wall in 1989. It was completely unexpected.
Today, Israel and Gaza.
Hamas, as we know, is devastated, but what next in Gaza? The war is pretty much over there, but Israel has failed to produce the political conclusion that would let them leave. And I'm not sure they want to leave. Iran is looking quite naked. Trump wouldn't join an Israeli attack on Iran's nuclear program, but he might sanction it. And also, he might not bother too much if Israel moves to annex more parts of the West Bank, like the Jordan Valley. So there's a lot to play for and a lot of uncertainty, but there's no question that Israel is, to some degree, setting the agenda now, and Iran is very much weakened.
Tomorrow, Turkey, a huge beneficiary of the collapse of the regime of Syrian dictator Bashar al-Assad. With FSN Spotlight, I'm Simon Marks.
The main headlines again. A holiday season US government shutdown has been avoided after Congress agreed on a stopgap measure. 2 US Navy pilots have been recovered after an apparent friendly fire incident over the Red Sea. And Homeland Security Secretary Alejandro Mayorkas is concerned about online rhetoric following the killing of United Healthcare CEO Brian Thompson. And that is the latest from Feature Story News.
Today's fitness trackers can tell how far you're running, but tomorrow's can tell you why you're running. The new Nike Run Logic Plus pinpoints the desperate psychological demons at the root of your exercise routine. Tech Trends reporter Aaron Vaughn has more.
It's a problem all runners face. You run and you run and you run, but it's never enough. No matter how many miles you put in, that gnawing ache at your soul never goes away. Now Nike's engineers have found a way for runners to use that existential pain to push themselves even farther. Users keep the device on their wrist at all times. It not only records running times and distances, it also analyzes all of the user's social interactions and emotional patterns. It then creates a unique, detailed profile that dredges the inspiring well of inner turmoil inside every runner. Early users say they notice a big impact on their workout.
I started marathoning when I was 28. I thought it was time to get in shape, but then once I realized I was actually running from my meaningless job in ad sales, I started running a lot more, like all the time.
This is the Onion News Network.
You can stick it to the man and big tech. Join our FTL social mastodon at social.freetalklive.com. Free Talk Live.
It's Free Talk Live, talk radio that you control, and 603-283-6160 is the phone number. That's 603-283-6160 is the phone number to call to bring up whatever's on your mind. And it's officially unofficial. We've been podcasting since podcasts began, but we're launching a new podcast anyway. Our new podcast is a 30 to 45-minute show releasing once a week, and you can find it at freetalkcast.com. It's brought to you by the same people who bring you Free Talk Live, and we'd love for you to check it out. The existing radio archive isn't going anywhere. This is just a new show designed from the start to be a podcast. So check it out at freetalkcast.com. And with you on Free Talk Live tonight, you've got me, Bonnie,
Stu,
and Richie Rich.
And we have a caller on the line, so I'm going to go right to the phones. Sarah in New Mexico, you're on Free Talk Live. What's on your mind?
Yes, I just want to mention that there was a woman that claimed that she was kidnapped at gunpoint or something, and then she went on the wrong way on the freeway, and then the cop that was chasing her, and then there was a retired firefighter. They got killed, and then it turned out that she was lying.
Wow.
She was high on drugs. Because they found out there was, at the time of the crash, there was no weight in the passenger side.
Hashtag believe all women.
Well, but she admitted that she was high on drugs, and I guess somebody told her that if you go on the wrong way on the freeway, they'll quit chasing you. So that, and then I guess that was the only way. I mean, how could they? But if she really was being kidnapped at gunpoint, she would not be charged with doing the rest of her life in prison.
How did they not figure it out? Like, did she never get caught up to because the cop and the firefighter died, so she just drove away?
I think so. He wound up doing a head-on collision, but
she was in a head-on collision?
No, she didn't. The cops that was chasing her had a head-on collision, and the person that hit him was a firefighter, retired firefighter.
Whoa, what are the odds of that? Took out
two status in one shot.
One pension and one... Anyways, I was just kidding.
Well played, Mrs. High Lady.
One thing I'm wondering is how did
drugs do serve a purpose.
How did she not die from driving the wrong way on the highway? And this is in Santa Fe, according to the internet.
Oh, you found it?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
A jury found her guilty of 2 counts of first-degree murder and other crimes.
Yeah, that's the problem. She didn't murder anybody.
She didn't.
But her crime led to somebody being killed, and therefore she's responsible for it.
I could almost understand manslaughter more, but murder? It's first-degree murder? It's like, was she like, if I say this, they'll follow me and then they'll get hit? I don't know. Even then, it's like, obviously she had the skills. She didn't die. So it's not her fault they didn't have the skills. Yep. I don't know.
It's weird that that's how the system works.
Yeah, it's definitely not murder.
Why did they decide to chase her wrong way down the highway? Like, that's step one. Why did they decide
protect
that?
and serve, man. She's going to injure an actual person.
Yeah, but all they did was the cop went the wrong way too and injured a person that was apparently a pensioner.
Yeah, I get it. Cops don't have the best driving skills. They're supposed to, but they don't.
The thing is, that's what the criminals have taught each other. They go the wrong way on the freeway and they'll quit chasing you. That's the protocol.
Never heard that.
I mean, it's a good protocol. That's one of the things that cops should do.
I see. So the cop was like, I know about this. They probably were like, I know this is their protocol. I'm not falling for it. I can do it. And he goes backwards on the highway and he's like, eh.
Cops aren't even supposed to chase you through like a crowded area.
Yeah.
Because it's danger to the public.
But they do.
But they do. Especially, like, here's the thing, right? Maybe back in the day, but like, we have modern technology now, right? There's no way you can't catch her later, right?
Yeah,
they spent years rounding up the protesters from the January 6th insurrection, right? They caught Luigi 5 days later eating at McDonald's, right?
Scam. I mean,
whatever.
Setup, whatever. I said
Whatever.
Scam.
I'm just saying, like, they have the technology. They found people on video and like they tracked him down because his grandmother like knitted him a hat, and it's like a once in a thing, and they found him by the clothes he was wearing at some riot somewhere, right? They don't have to chase people; just catch them later.
Yeah, they can send up the helicopter. It's not that hard to find the car that's going the wrong way on the interstate. Pretty easy.
Or as soon as you get the license plate, right?
Or as soon as
is
she
this car
dies.
stolen?
As soon as she dies in a head-on collision, if she does that.
Yep, I think if I'm that cop, I don't get on the freeway going the wrong way.
Did she leave any DNA behind?
But this is the thing is that they knew that she was lying about somebody threatening her life and making her drive that way.
Yeah, but it's like,
Okay.
I'm going to prove her wrong.
Yeah,
and
but
kills yourself.
And cops lie all the time. Part of their job.
This is just proof that they do seriously not hire people above a certain level of IQ.
What was the point of what were they trying to arrest her for that made her flee in the first place? Right, they must have been investigating something, because you don't just randomly go down the highway in the wrong way. Like, that's not a good way to do anything bad. Like, you want to be inconspicuous as possible.
Drugs, I think that's what it is. They don't want to catch her with the drugs.
So they were pulling her. Well, that's a secondary offense. You're not going to get pulled over for being high on drugs. You have to like swerve out of a lane first and be like, wow, this person might be inebriated.
You know, I think she probably had a warrant. She probably didn't want to go to jail or something.
I get it. You can drive with a warrant as long as you're not doing anything illegal to get pulled over for.
This is what it says.
If they caught her, she would have been going back to jail.
I get it, but they have to have a reason to chase her in the first place.
This is the reason,
Yeah, go
and
ahead,
it's
Bonnie.
weirder than you might think. Like, you might think, oh, they were chasing her because she was on drugs, and then she decided to like pull this to get away. But actually, She initiated the pursuit by falsely telling a bystander to call 911 because she's probably just like crazy on drugs. She's like, call 911 because a man is in my car taking me hostage. Then she drives around and police chase her.
Okay.
And so she initiated it. Very weird. Like
Foolishness.
She must have been high on drugs. And it's like, well, Darwin Awards for the cop too, and also her for getting taken out of society.
Like Stu said, depending on where you're at, you just throw up the bird, right? And then follow her wherever she lands, and then like send an officer on patrol. And if no one else gets out the other side of the car, well, then you've arrested the right person. And if someone does get out the other side of the car, then she might have been telling the truth, and you've rescued her by following safely from a helicopter.
Mm-hmm. So. It's like she's had somebody call 911. She's at these apartments, maybe like in the parking lot in her car. And it says when police arrived at Vizcaya Apartments, they give the address, in Santa Fe. In response to the 911 call, Jaramillo, or whatever it's her last name.
Jaramillo.
Okay, Jaramillo. Led officers on a reckless high-speed chase. First, so she just like takes off. She's like... what's the word, like baiting them. It's weird.
Okay.
She led them on a high-speed chase, first on Santa Fe streets, then to I-25.
Okay.
And it says jurors viewed dramatic police dash camera video showing Jaramillo driving 90 miles per hour the wrong way on I-25 in a stolen Chevy Malibu with officers in pursuit. Drivers on the busy stretch of I-25 southeast of Santa Fe swerved and pulled over to avoid head-on collisions. So
well played.
They still were the only people that died were the people that didn't get out of the way, including this firefighter man, and the cop that was too dumb to get around the one car not getting out of the way.
When you're walking down the sidewalk and someone is walking towards you, like which way do you move to avoid them?
So if I have my dog, it just depends on which way he's trying to sniff.
Okay.
But if I usually go with right if I'm in a grocery store lane because I think we drive on the right side of the lane road, and that's what my dad always said. And my dad used to get mad at people. He'd be like, "It's America. We drive on the right side of the road.
So
we walk on the right side of the road."
Okay, so if the car is coming at you like 90 miles an hour, right, you like swerve right then, right?
Yeah,
hopefully
that
they'll
makes
do the same thing.
Yeah,
hopefully. I was in the back seat of a Nissan Pathfinder one time when the driver swerved left and the pedestrian had a real bad day.
Okay.
Whoa.
Driver's fault for swerving left. You got to swerve right.
Yep.
Why did they swerve? Because a cop was coming?
No, because the pedestrian was out in the crosswalk before they should have been. And then also he was kind of about to run a red light, but just barely red, kind of a thing.
See, I told you got to buzz pedestrians.
What do you mean?
Well, get real close to them when they're doing something wrong so they think twice about stepping out in front of a 3,000-pound death machine next time.
Yeah, that guy won't do that again. He had a real bad day.
No,
but when I have the green light and there are people like start their cross, I will get as close as I safely can and let them feel the wind.
Yeah. Whenever people cross when it's totally not their time, I like as soon as they're like give me any space to go, I go, and it's like to kind of say like F you for doing that. Is that what you're saying? Basically the same thing.
Yeah, except that while they're walking, I will still do it if I have the right of way.
Yeah, I'll do it while they're walking, but they're like give me enough room for my car.
Yeah. But I will get really close and go really fast.
What do you think about that, Sarah, as a pedestrian?
Well, you know what? You guys don't have to try to scare us. You guys.
Yes, I do.
Have to
wait your turn
without trying hard. I mean, like just accidental for real. I mean, do you think you guys have to go out of your way to like scare us?
Every accident is avoidable. Pay attention.
Yeah, if you're a pedestrian and you're stepping out like against the right of way, that is your fault, and I'm going to make you pay with knowledge of like not thinking about your life flashing before your eyes, so you don't do it again.
This one time, this old man. So there was this old couple walking on the side of the sidewalk, and I needed to park in a parallel parking area where every single thing was open. But I specifically wanted to get to the end. So I just went into the parking spots and drove to the last one. But I slowed way down because I just noticed this old couple on the sidewalk.
Okay.
But when I got out, like I did like the nicest thing possible, right? You would think. But if you can follow what I'm saying, because it's so hard to describe to people like, oh, and
they were on the sidewalk. That's a safe place to be.
Right. They were on the sidewalk. But the thing is, I get out and I start paying my meter. And the old man turns around and he says, you know what? If you're going to park next to us when we're on the sidewalk, you need to do a courtesy honk because sometimes we step out into the road.
Don't do that.
And I said,
Right.
so you shouldn't be doing that, you know? And it's
Don't
like,
do that. Don't step out into the road.
that
Why
was
would you do that?
He was like
Sidewalk-
angry at me.
Sidewalk is your safe place, and then if you're going to step out in the road, like be responsible because there's 3,000-pound death machines
Yeah.
that are going to win that battle.
I also slowed so much down that it's like if he decided to step out into the road, I probably would have stopped in time and then like, Jesus, why are you guys doing that? You know, like it was
Yeah.
crazy. I just don't understand.
I would have yelled at him too.
Yeah, I didn't really yell at the old man.
Nah,
I was
you
just like
should.
combative, and then
Okay.
his wife was like, "What's she saying?" They were like,
I'll repeat it for you too, ma'am.
I'm putting my finger in her chest now.
No, I wouldn't
and
put
I
my
told
finger.
you, no, I'm joking.
I still
didn't.
yell.
I
There's
wouldn't.
no one immune from my wrath,
It was so
especially
annoying.
when they're in the wrong.
That was so in the wrong, and I'm glad you agree. I was just like, for the rest of the day, I was like, did I do something wrong? Is there some kind of like courtesy where you should honk at someone? Like, I would think
Nope.
that would make them, like have a little heart attack, you know?
Yeah, that would be even more rude. 'Cause, like, why are you honking?
Yeah, I know. I would never think to do that, and now I totally agree. I mean, I totally feel like you guys agree, and
Yeah, no.
it was so weird. It
Old
was in
dude was an
Keene.
idiot. Okay.
It was in Keene, by the way. With
Well, kick him out of Keene. Turn Keene into Bonneville, and you don't have to worry about low IQ old people.
It was like 6 months ago, so he's probably dead.
Okay.
I don't know.
Hopefully, he got hit by a car just for karma.
And he's just like, they didn't honk. We stepped out into the road, and he wasn't saying like we might step into a crosswalk. Just to be clear, so everybody knows what we're talking about. He was saying the road / that parking spot.
We
where-
just randomly step off the sidewalk
yeah.
for no good reason.
And he's like yelling. At me.
Sometimes I like to walk where people walk. Sometimes I like to walk where cars drive.
And not look both ways or anything. Well, Sarah, anything else about this high-speed chase? What are your opinions on it?
Well, I was thinking, well, they said there was no weight of like a person on the passenger side. I'm thinking to myself, well, how do they know that?
I don't know.
They had a black box.
Yeah, that's a little weird.
Yeah,
Oh, the black box.
That has to be,
Yeah, cars
Right,
now
the
have
car-
data recorders in them.
Whoa.
Okay.
So it's hold on her. That's crazy. So that makes a lot of sense. Sarah loves these black box things. They record data for in cars, like Stu said.
No privacy.
So anything else, Sarah?
My car thinks my backpack's a person. Won't shut up.
That's
Yeah.
about it. Yeah, that's about it. But I just want to say that, you think that pedestrians make mistakes going against the light? What about you guys with the cars? You do that constantly, and then when you guys make a mistake, we're dead.
Yeah, another good reason to be more careful as a pedestrian. You're going to lose. Take your
doesn't matter how
safety into your
careful
own
you are.
hands.
When the cars go against the light,
I
red
get it.
light, when it's not their
I
fault,
get
we're
it.
dead.
Cars
You
are
guys
going
live.
to make mistakes, and you're going to die.
Okay.
So you have to be more careful.
And we all do our best to not make those mistakes.
Yeah.
But if we're both paying attention and we're both doing our best, then
Unless you
chances are
have
very
insurance.
slim that
If you have
anything bad's
insurance,
gonna
then
happen.
you're incentivized to make that mistake.
Yeah,
Oh,
I'm
apparently.
gonna look for pedestrians so that way I can get my insurance to cover it. You know,
Yeah,
like, it's so
exactly.
stupid. So that one it wasn't aimed at you, Sarah. It was aimed at a different caller. But thank you for the call. That actually was a pretty interesting story Sarah brought in today. Pretty crazy, like little like circumstances, peculiar circumstances. You know, like that guy that was naked in the school. It was peculiar that he had these dildos surrounding him. So
Peculiar.
I'm of the opinion that bikes should be on the sidewalk too.
yeah,
Because
oh my God.
if a bike hits a pedestrian, like that's survivable,
Mhm.
right? But you put them on the road with cars, and then bicyclists die.
Yeah.
Right.
And also, I think that you should not be allowed to bicycle across. In fact, I think it might actually already be the law, but they shouldn't be doing this. They shouldn't bicycle across the crosswalks.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
Because it's too
agree. You
fast.
should never ride your bike across one of those.
Just
You
step off and walk it, you know?
Yep.
Oh.
Or at least come to basically a full stop
Hmm.
right before the crosswalk and make real sure that you got plenty
Yeah.
of time.
And that the
And
cars have stopped, yeah.
Bicyclists are like the worst because they're on the road, constantly violating like the rules of the road
Mhm.
as they should follow, and then they complain about getting hit.
Yeah,
Right.
and that's the thing. They're
Like you've
the
earned
most-
this as a group.
Like that old man that yelled at me. That's like an archetype of a biker.
Yeah.
They'll be like, you need to honk to let me know that you're passing me on the blah 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 side, or that's how bicyclists act.
Yeah, I
Especially
used to
on the
ride.
internet.
I used to ride a bike 26 miles home from work in Salt Lake Valley, and I almost got killed one time.
Whose fault was it?
It was mine. I was
Okay,
riding
all right.
kind of in the gutter. It was a 4-lane like city streets, and there wasn't really a sidewalk, but there was somewhere I could have been riding that would have been safer. After that, I didn't ride in the gutter anymore.
Smart.
Cops made me have to walk to work all the time, which I think made me less safe. But then again, it didn't make me less safe because I paid attention.
And even if there's no sidewalk, right? Like it's winter here in New Hampshire, and soon we will have a snow that sticks and is thick enough where they won't have the sidewalks plowed, right? And then the pedestrians will have no choice but to walk in the road. And what I've learned as a pedestrian, like they teach you this when you start to drive and stuff, is that pedestrians are supposed to be on the side of the road walking towards traffic.
My parents taught me that. I've never taken a class for driving.
That's the protocol, right? Because then you can see what's coming and you can make eye contact with the driver. You can't do that with the AI drivers, right? But then that there's going to be pedestrians on the road and they have no other option, right? Because the sidewalk is blocked. This is their only access. And so you be more careful as the car, because this is not on them. This is just like a courtesy thing to do. But if the sidewalk is clear and some Yahoo pedestrian is like casually walking up the street, on the wrong side, not
risking his own neck there.
Not hit him, buzz him, right? Make him think twice about foolish decisions. You're doing him a service. You do humanity a service by hitting him and killing him, because then nobody has to worry about it. But for now, give him a second chance at life and just buzz him, make him think.
Let Darwin, quote unquote, take care of him. He'll become a cop and he'll drive the wrong way on the highway.
There you go.
So, speaking of AI drivers, this story from Gizmodo, a reputable news organization, says Arizona schools curriculum will be taught by AI, no teachers.
Yay!
No teachers.
Woo!
Says the state's charter school board approved an application on Monday from Unbound Academy to open a school with a 2-hour per day academic curriculum set by AI.
Nice.
Wow, only 2 hours a day is awesome. It kind of sounds like just going even AI wouldn't be necessary. It's like having classes that are on the computer. In my high school, in Utah at least, I'm not sure about in Texas, there were some kids were electing to take classes on the computer, so it would be a little less fun, you don't have your friends, but you're in the librarian's telling you not to talk and just focus on your work, but you get your stuff done. You could get it done before the semester's over because you did your class on the computer in the library.
Yep.
And also there's a thing called Connections Academy and also Ron Paul Home School, things like that, where you can do school on computers instead of at your house.
I was thinking, I don't know how I got onto this thought process the other day, but if I were a dictator, right? And the state runs the school. I think as the dictator, I would standardize the curriculum so that no school can teach anything other than the same thing that I've deemed necessary. And then I would record myself giving the lectures, right? So I would have my staff or whatever, the smart people, actually compose the lectures, right? But what the students see would just be videos of me giving the lectures. Dear leader giving the lectures, and then the teachers there can just answer questions that students may have, but the vast majority of information is just centralized from me so that I appear to be the smartest man at all times.
Yeah, that'd be effective.
But now you can do that with AI.
He knows everything.
Right. If you standardize the curriculum and AI does it, then the teacher's just there to hit play and answer questions.
And you can deep fake Dear Leader, and you wouldn't have to do all that labor of recording all that.
There you go.
So let's see what this actually is going to look like. It seems like AI gets all this credit. It seems like something that could have gone on before AI, but let's see. It says, remember that one teacher who made going to school fun and inspired you to pursue your passions? All right, that's how they choose to start it off. What about, remember that one teacher who borderline abused you and made you dread wanting to go there? Because I do.
Yeah, I do too.
Yeah, that's more of an experience.
Yeah,
maybe not dread. Elementary school, there's a few bad teachers that I, didn't like. But I've never had the one teacher pull me aside and like, you're going to make something of yourself, boy. And I believe in you. That didn't happen.
Yeah, I had some teachers that are like, wow, he's cool. I like him more than the rest, or she.
But they didn't inspire me to greatness.
They didn't inspire me to go to school.
Yeah.
And the thing was, like, I liked school most of the time for my friends, but I had plenty of teachers that, like, say I'm at school and I was having a good time, but oh, now it's second period and I gotta go to that teacher's class, and I'm, like, really dreading it because I hate them.
Yep.
603-283-6160. AI teachers, no rules. It's Free Talk Live. More coming up. You can call in with whatever's on your mind.
Join liberty-minded voluntarists, anarchists, and libertarians from June 13th through the 16th for the 8th annual Fork Fest at Rogers Campground in the beautiful White Mountains of New Hampshire. Fork Fest is a fork of the Porcupine Freedom Festival, which has sold out in recent years. Fork Fest happens the weekend before the Porcupine Freedom Festival. Fork Fest is decentralized, which means that there's no ticket cost and no one is in charge. All you have to do to join the fun is reserve your camping site, RV site, or motel room with Rogers Campground for June 13th through the 16th. You can find out more at the unofficial website, forkfest.party. You can also connect with other attendees on the Forkfest Telegram and Matrix chat rooms, as well as the Forkfest forum. You can find links to those at forkfest.party. We hope to see you there June 13th through the 16th. forkfest.party.
From Feature Story News in Washington, I'm Jagruti Dave. A holiday season US government shutdown has been avoided after Congress agreed on a stopgap measure. The House passed it by 366 to 34, with the Senate following suit, passing the bipartisan funding bill by a vote of 85 to 11. Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer praised the development, capping a chaotic week that saw President-elect Trump and Elon Musk cast doubt on whether an agreement could be reached.
There will be no government shutdown right before Christmas. This is a good bill. It'll keep the government open.
The short-term funding bill signed by President Biden includes $100 billion for disaster relief, $30 billion for farmers, and a one-year extension on the Farm Bill. It does not include Trump's demand to either raise or abolish the debt ceiling, which was not popular with many in the Republican Party. 2 US Navy pilots have been recovered after an apparent friendly fire incident over the Red Sea. US forces were engaged in strikes against Yemen's Houthi rebels. We get more from Scott Carr.
Central Command says the pilot's FA-18 Super Hornet jet had just taken off from the USS Harry S. Truman aircraft carrier early Sunday when it was fired upon with a guided cruise missile from the USS Gettysburg. No explanation was given. Officials say both pilots were able to safely eject, with only one of them sustaining minor injuries. An investigation is underway. I'm Scott Carr in Washington.
Homeland Security Secretary Alejandro Mayorkas is concerned about online rhetoric following the killing of United Healthcare CEO Brian Thompson. Appearing on CBS's Face the Nation, Mayorkas said his agency is watching the outpouring of support on social media for Thompson's alleged assassin.
It speaks of what is really bubbling here in this country, and unfortunately, we see that manifested in violence.
Luigi Mangione is accused of gunning down Thompson on the morning of December the 4th in New York City. He was arrested less than a week later with a manifesto that appears to express anger at the private health insurance industry for denying patients life-saving medical care. US Senator Ben Cardin says the country needs tougher regulations on drone flying within its borders. In an interview on Fox News Sunday, the Maryland Democrat indicated concerns over recent drone sightings across the US are being overblown.
Well, in regards to the recent observations, we've been informed that there's no threat against our country.
He added there are already a massive number of private drones that fly around the US at any given time, along with planes that some concerned residents have misidentified.
Don't miss a moment of Free Talk Live. Get our archives daily via our podcast at feeds.freetalklive.com.
Talk Live, talk radio that you control, and 603-283-6160 is the phone number. That's 603-283-6160. And Free Talk Live is brought to you by LibertyMinded.com. Official Free Talk Live gear like t-shirts and hoodies are available at LibertyMinded.com. Plus, you'll find a unique collection of cool and funny Liberty-oriented clothing at LibertyMinded.com. That's LibertyMinded.com. And with you on Free Talk Live tonight, you've got me, Bonnie.
Stu.
And Richie Rich.
And we have callers on the line, so let's go right to the callers. Major Payne in Michigan, you're on Free Talk Live. What's on your mind?
Major Payne, how the heck are you?
Good. You guys, how y'all doing? Getting ready for Christmas and all that rot?
Yeah.
Meh.
I put a Christmas gnome up, so.
Yeah, I've gotten halfway to the bah humbug thing myself anymore.
It's not so much bah humbug. Like, I don't have kids around, and I feel like it's more for kids.
Yeah, there are little ones in my home, so we're in full Christmas swing. Yes.
There you go.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
Yeah. That makes
I
sense,
fully
too.
support that.
When me and Ian weren't, like, he wasn't in prison, we just, like, played board games.
I would be, putting up a tree and all that foolishness, too, but
Yeah.
Right.
it's just me anymore, so I'm not going to make a big fuss about it. But anyway, I remember both my favorite and my least favorite teachers from school. Interestingly enough, my
Put them on
favorite-
blast. What were their names?
From the one, Mr. Davis and Mr. Kerr, but then there was another one that was my second grade teacher. I can't remember her last name, but she was real interesting because she was just young, fresh out of a couple of years from being a teacher's aide, just getting her wings and whatnot. But she had spent her training days teaching on an Indian reservation.
Wait, but are these ones you liked so far?
That's quite intriguing because she used to teach us, stuff about the little Indian kids and whatnot. And then later on, I remember my last couple of years of grade school, one of my favorite courses was Michigan history. And I got to thinking about that, and I was like, well, hell, Michigan was the wilderness until, 1858, so we really didn't have a hell of a lot of white history, so there was a lot of Indian lore in that class, too, I've come to realize.
I had a middle school teacher who would take my jacket away at the beginning of the day, even though it was like part of the uniform. It was a uniform jacket, and she just wouldn't let me wear it.
She liked your guns.
Yeah.
I'm just kidding.
So I had to I started carrying a uniform sweater in my backpack that at second period I would put on my sweater and then wear that for the day. And then she would hand me my jacket back at the end of the day.
Why did she do that?
Because she was not a nice person.
Were you, like, making noise with the zipper?
Not at all.
Well.
Just preferred to wear a jacket. Still do. But now it makes more sense because it's cold. She just wasn't a nice person.
School, right?
What's that?
That doesn't make sense. I said it was part of the uniform of the school. That doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, it was it was private school, so you had the school uniform, and part of what you went down to buy your uniform, you could buy a uniform jacket, and that was the only jacket you were allowed to wear.
Well, she's a dictator, so.
Right.
She was just a jacket Nazi. That's weird.
Right. Yeah. It's not the word I would have used, but I will accept that. The word I would like to use is not allowed on air.
Both my favorite and least favorite teacher in junior high both taught American history. And Mr. Davis, he was real interesting. He was a bald, long-haired, mutton chops. He was kind of
bald, long-haired.
Bald, long mutton chops.
Cool.
Oh, okay.
He was kind of cool. But then my next year, he had the same big old nasty mutton chop. His name was Mr. Kerr, but he was a real hardcore. I mean, he used to do Civil War reenactments and whatnot.
Nice.
And he was only about 5.5 feet tall, but by God, if he could have, he would have been a Marine drill instructor.
Not allowed in Bonnie Dreamtown.
Oh, so Major Payne, I was literally saying the other day for some reason, I was like, what was Michigan even doing during the Civil War? Because you're saying they didn't have people till the 50s of that decade?
1858, I think, was the year we became a state. Yeah, actually, Michigan did send a hell of a lot of troops to the Civil War. But they were all militia back then,
Mm-hmm.
As it should be.
So the states had their militias. But, I got some news out of Canada. Everybody's favorite libtard, the Queen's kiss ass, Justin Trudeau. I guess it's the King's kiss ass now.
Oh.
They done changed. He's going to make another 368 or 86 various manufacturers and makes and models of quote unquote assault weapons illegal in Canada. And his brilliant theme to go along with this is we're going to send them to the citizens of the Ukrainian so they can arm themselves. We can have their populace armed and ours unarmed.
How do you feel about Donald Trump calling him like the governor of Canada and calling Canada the new 51st state?
I thought that was kind of funny. That's one of them things that makes you crack a doo-doo eating grin, seeing as though I can't say the word.
It's kind of funny, but I don't want it to be true. It's weird. Why did he say that?
Because Trudeau had like a meeting with Trump over like policy.
Mm-hmm.
And Trump basically said, well, if they're leeching off like the productivity of the United States, then they might as well just become a state. And so he just started referring to him as like the governor of the 51st state, Canada.
No,
That's pretty funny.
I feel like they're all like nice people is what I feel. I guess it's not necessarily true.
Canadians?
But if we took them in there, a lot of them are like, like leftists and
yeah.
I don't think they're good.
They're conditioned to being part of the empire.
Mm-hmm.
More so than Americans.
English Empire?
Yeah.
I also wouldn't take all of Canada as like one state, right? They're already broken down into provinces. Just take one or two of those.
Yeah, just don't take the one with Toronto and we're probably fine.
Okay. You'll take
Ontario.
Okay.
I don't know.
Just split it up into 50 more and then you got 100.
Just double the stars and flag.
We got all the Great Lakes.
You want to take the ones with the Great Lakes? Is that what you said, Major?
Don't you think? Yeah, take Ontario.
Okay.
That's
Well, Bonnie just didn't want Ontario because that's got Toronto.
Yeah.
So that's one of their most southern provinces, and therefore you're going to get the production out of the ground that you're not going to get up there in the tundra.
Vetoed.
So
they can have Ottawa. Which is the one that speaks mostly French? Is it Ottawa?
I think that's Ontario.
Okay.
With Montreal and everything.
All right.
But maybe
Montreal,
multiple.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
I know Montreal does, but the further north you get, the more French speaking they are. I think pretty much as general.
No, but there's like one province. I'm spacing on it, but like they have two official languages because they have so many French.
It's Ontario. I mean, the one with Montreal. So
Quebec.
There we go. Yeah,
Okay.
You're right. Okay, I was calling it Ontario. So thank you for the call, Major Payne. We have another caller on the line. Unscreened caller, you're on Free Talk Live. What's on your mind? Oh, they dropped off.
Bye.
Sorry about that. David in New Mexico, you're on Free Talk Live. What's on your mind?
Not much.
Well, you gotta have something to say. Richie Rich is gonna want me to hang up on you.
Who's gonna want you? Who's gonna want you to hang up on me?
Me.
Richie Rich.
Oh, that son of a. Never
If
mind.
you
gotta be not boring.
Well, I'm never boring, dude. When was I boring?
Oh, yeah,
Tell me
it's
when I was boring.
subjective.
Survey says that was a lie.
Survey says.
Saddle Talk Live was pretty boring, for example.
Yeah.
Saddle Talk Live? What?
Yeah. Anyways, what'd you call about, David?
Lots of stuff. Well, one, let's start with Jaramillo. How about Jaramillo? Start with that. Like Zamora and Romero. There's a Jaramillo in there too.
Oh.
Sarah was talking about the retard New Mexican. Of course, they're all retards, aren't they? Because they're in New Mexico. They're New Mexican, so they're retards by definition. But the retard on drugs, driving the car, smashing the car. Oh, by the way, that's called felony murder, Bonnie.
Wait, wasn't
That's not actually-
Jaramillo the one that was the person on drugs, not the cop?
Yeah, right. And Jaramillo was also one of the two paid assassin lawyers that my ex baby mama from hell hired to make sure that I never saw my kids again.
Dang, you guys
Jaramillo.
really only have like the same 5 names over there.
Armijo, Trujillo, Martinez, Sanchez, Sandoval.
Stimulating.
I guess that. Yeah.
Was this person also, was that name one of the ones?
David calls in to read the Mexican phone book.
It's like,
Yeah,
it's
exactly.
New Mexican is the thing though. Like
Whatever.
It's funny because even when he was talking about people's last names in New Mexico, I knew 2 of them, never having lived there, just because I knew friends who's like, they're not Mexican even though they look like it. They're from, their ancestors are from that area. And then Spaniards came.
Can we get someone from Nebraska to just read us the Nebraskan phone book? This is fantastic.
I find it a bit interesting, maybe more than you. I just think it's like interesting, like, oh, where did this name originate and blah blah blah. But its interest has
talk about that then. Don't just read the list of names.
Yeah.
The point is that this is New Mexico, and it is incestuous and nepotistic, and they're retards, and they do things like illegally traffic your children. Mm-hmm. Anybody on this call got any children there, Stu? Would you like your children trafficked? How about Jay? Oh, wait, that already happened to Jay, didn't it? They tried.
No, it didn't happen. They tried, yeah.
Yeah, right. Well, yeah. So it did happen to them because they tried to. So that's the point. And the point is that Sarah brought up Jaramillo, and Jaramillo. I'm just reminded that Jaramillo, along with Zamora and Romero. Notice these were not Olson, Peterson, Johnson, Anderson, Knutson, Swanson, anything like that. This was.
They weren't colonialists. They were natives.
They were, they are colonialists because Jaramillo.
The Spaniard, at least.
They were all.
Well, he's reading a whole bunch of Anglo names.
Yeah.
Right, and complaining that the natives there trafficked his kids.
These New Mexicans were colonizers, and worse than colonizers, like the New Englanders were colonizers. They were genocidal. They came in killing. If you didn't do what they told you to do. And yeah, you can argue the same thing in New England, but not anything like the conquistadores.
I think it's the same thing, and it goes on everywhere. They just,
it's not the same thing because
they're just a little more open about it down there.
Did your ancestors chop off hands and feet of Indians to make a point?
I don't know what my ancestors did, except for the Mormon side.
Did your ancestors chop off hands and feet because you wouldn't give up the gold that you didn't have?
I don't know. They'd murder people for trying to leave the valley because they might give up secrets.
I heard some.
The Belgians did that in Africa.
You're talking about the Momos, aren't you?
Yeah.
I've heard some bad things that the Mormons did, but I also know at least like 2 bad stories about my direct ancestors. Not as bad as what you're saying.
Yeah, they murdered a whole wagon train of immigrants and natives that were just seeking passage across the Salt Lake Valley. And
the Vikings had berserkers.
Oh, you mean like the Mountain Meadows Massacre?
Yeah, that's the one.
Yeah, and then what they do? They found a scapegoat, didn't they? Tell them about the scapegoat.
Scapegoat, I think, was an army officer.
What
was his name? You remember his name?
No, not really.
Sandoval. No, I'm just
who was the scapegoat that they executed so that they could satisfy the American people that somebody had paid for that crime of the Mountain Meadows Massacre? Who was that?
Was it like native person or like Polly?
He just said he didn't know. So if you know the answer, Dave, just share it.
I have to look up the guy's name. I don't remember his name.
Yeah, I forget what it was. But I do know that it was Brigham Young that gave the order.
From the Momo land, so Stu should be able to tell the story better than me.
Well, but you asked him the question, and he said he didn't know.
And you also don't know.
The controversy about it was whether or not Brigham Young gave the order, and I'm fairly convinced that he did.
Okay.
Do Mormons not want to believe that he did?
No, it's a major problem for them if he did. That makes him a murderer.
Yep.
And a prophet of God, which is kind of a contradiction.
Is it though?
I
don't know. Maybe.
Okay.
I don't know. It depends on what your God wants, I guess.
A lot of like Catholicism and Christianity is like crusades on God's behalf, right?
Good point.
So they don't frown upon it in those cases.
Well, in that case,
and they are Zionists.
It wouldn't be a contradiction in that case because God tells the Israelites to kill people in the Old Testament all the time, and I mean the Mormons have the Old Testament too, so.
Yeah, maybe it wouldn't be that big of a problem for them.
It's a big deal in Islam.
If it was openly admitted, they'd just, frame it as God wanted this wagon train of innocent people to be murdered that way.
And look, the Bible didn't burn. Praise Jesus.
Well, thank you for the call, David. I don't think we have anybody else really wants to talk about history right now that none of us are 100% on. Do you guys have anything else for David?
Never.
I like David's calls most of the time, but I just didn't have anything else to say about that one. So back to this story from Gizmodo, a very reputable news source. They're saying that in Arizona, there's going to be no teachers in the state's charter school. It sounds like maybe all of the state's charter schools, which I'm not exactly sure what that is. Kind of like similar to magnet school is what I've heard, but I still don't really know what that is. Do you guys know off the top of your heads what a charter school is?
A charter school is It's essentially a private school that's still doing the government curriculum so they can take the federal funding.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it gives public school students a chance to choose their school. And
okay.
those schools get federal money for being a charter school.
Probably like a bit better than normal public school.
Well, like if you're a good student in a bad neighborhood, right, you're going to go to the bad school. It's not going to be good for your future. So if you can petition and use the federal money to go to a private school that the feds pay for at a charter school, then you get a better education because, you've proven yourself. So it adds it adds school choice and options above and beyond public school, but you don't have to be able to afford private school.
Then the parent-teacher relationship in most public schools is, a lot of parents feel like their voice isn't heard, and so charter school was an effort to scale down the size of the school so the parents could have a little more of what they wanted to go on inside of the school.
Crazy when it's like one teacher and 35 students. It feels like you don't learn anything in classes like that. I was not in classes like that in Utah with my 8 people class total, but I was in Texas, my 800 plus people class. So
it's more impressive if you're valedictorian, though.
I know I was valedictorian of one of those.
Yeah.
One of those 2 classes.
But if you're valedictorian of class of 200, right? It's like, whoa.
Yeah, if I was the girl who was valedictorian of my class of 800 was impressively intelligent.
Okay,
we took this test, and let's say I got an 80 on the test. It felt pretty good. She got 100 and was the only one in the school. So she was genuinely smarter than me, but I was also genuinely smarter than those other 7 kids, including the one that had Down syndrome. Okay, so we have a caller on the line. We don't usually have Jerome this late. Jerome, you're in North Carolina, right?
South Carolina.
Trump train!
South Carolina.
Choo-choo.
Hey, shut the government down.
Yes, please.
Yes, please.
Bill Walton would say, throw it down, big fella, throw it down. Anyway, you welcome. Hey, America, you welcome, okay? We saved you, because it would have cost more to shut the government down, but those big dummy Republicans, and their stupidity. So here we go. We got to save the world again. We keep on doing it though. Hey, congratulations when he gets into office. That'll be a fiasco.
You're taking credit for this, huh, Jerome?
Which part will be
Trump getting into office?
No,
the weirdest thing, his biggest complaint about them finding a way to not shut the government down was that they did so without eliminating the debt ceiling.
This happened again?
Yeah.
Happens all the
recently.
time.
Right before, within this week.
Wow, I hadn't heard anything.
He's like,
about
I can't believe you guys passed this without eliminating the debt ceiling. What am I going to do with a debt ceiling? Go ahead, Jerome.
Hey, I just want to thank America for electing a guy who's got 4 deferments and has filed for bankruptcy 6 times. He's going to run the government, huh? Good luck with that.
I mean, he did for 4 years.
He got a Rothschild to bail him out, so he might do okay.
No, he got Elon Musk, the guy that what the woman told said he names his children after mathematical equations.
Yeah, it's a little weird.
There's a genius for you. There's a weirdo for you, and he likes ketamine. He's a drug addict and a weirdo.
His girlfriend that had that baby is way worse, way weirder.
Yeah, I don't know what's up with Elon. The guy is weird.
Hey, Elon,
I'll tell you what's up with Elon. He, much like the flat earthers, Elon believes that this is just a simulation. And if this is just a simulation, there's no actual consequences. So he is free to do whatever he wants at any time because nothing matters.
Huh.
And it's like he has zero limiting beliefs on anything he wants.
I guess that explains a lot.
It's the most spiritual and intellectual freedom you can actually have.
It's kind of funny
and
because
it's just one guy.
I was just by myself wondering this, when I was doing dishes on one of the breaks. I was thinking, why doesn't Elon Musk just open Elon Dream City anywhere on the entire globe? He could. He has the money to do it, and instead he wants to play with America. It's like we're his toys,
Yeah. And that's within his belief system. It's beautiful.
You know what I like? When he sends his kid to school, and the first day of school, his kid has to get up and introduce himself. Oh, my name is XYZ Pi to the 6th degree.
He just goes by X.
Yeah, and he just call me X.
Yeah, he's right. What a weirdo! But boy, is this a beautiful country or what?
I'd be okay with it if my parents had named me in that manner.
It's also better than foreign countries where you have to get permission to name your kids.
Yeah.
Right? What, like, you take this weirdness, but you also get the freedom that comes with it.
Yeah.
Instead of going like, well, I need to petition the government because I want to name my kid something unique.
Yeah, something that's not on the approved names list.
And the state has to approve of it, right? I would take a weird kid name over that.
Hey, first you got women naming their children, what's the woman name? Her name God and Messiah. Yeah, there was a woman named her kid Messiah. Now you got old Elon coming along with the mathematic equation names.
Yeah,
what
again.
What is this world coming to?
Again, it's better than having a list of approved names.
Yeah, I don't see why it should cause a problem for anybody else if somebody's got a weird name.
He might as well just be Polish. You can't pronounce that anyway.
Yeah.
It's not my generation. Not my generation. Don't ask me.
Your generation is the ones naming the kids all the weird names.
Yeah, your generation.
These kids aren't choosing it.
Oh, yeah, right. Yeah, just blame old Elon on me, okay? Old apartheid Elon. Yeah.
Like, how old is Elon and how old are you, Jerome?
I'm 68. How old is Elon's one of his 30s, 40s?
No, maybe it's got to be late 40s at best. He's nowhere near his 30s.
Yeah. His mom says people should have children even if they can't afford them.
Oh.
Did you find out how old Elon was?
Where he gets his Jesus from?
Elon is 53, and here are all of his kids' names.
So he's 9 years younger than you, Jerome.
Wow.
Within a generation.
No, he's 6. I'm 68. He's,
okay.
15 years.
I thought you said 62. I apologize.
Almost
68.
All of his kids' names that we know of, I guess, they're not all listed here because apparently he has 12, but the one is...
that we know of.
XEA... I don't even know how you say that.
The Dirty Dozen.
There's the one named X. I'm just going to skip over that. Then there's Exa Dark Sidereal Musk. There's Tau Techno Mechanius. Or I might be reading some of these wrong. It's like my phone. Griffin Musk. Vivian Jenna Wilson. Pretty normal. Kai, Saxon, and Damien. And then Strider and Azure. However you say that. Azure? Yeah.
Is there a Stinky Musk on the list there? How about next one will be Stinky Musk.
Stinky?
Maybe. But it's not your kids, and he can name them whatever he wants, and they can change it later.
Oh, I see, because the last name Musk.
Yeah.
Stinky Musk.
Yeah. Only like Don King said, only in America. Only in America.
Yes.
So would you advocate that this couple I knew back in the day, shouldn't have gotten married because the gentleman's name was Seth Balls, and he married a lady named Pat? Should that be an illegal name union?
How many baby mamas does Elon got?
It says 3. XYZ. So he had 12 kids, but only 3 different women. I always thought it was more than that from hearing that he had 12 kids, but
impressive.
Yeah, I thought it was like 5 to 10 women, but this is what the AI overview on Google says. It's not always right. We had a story we didn't get to tonight that was talking all about how if you try to look for the best blah blah blah, like I want the best sweater vests. And you Google that, it's just going to give you a bunch of crap. I mean, Google just gives you a bunch of crap. I wonder what's going to happen when government breaks up the monopoly of them.
You don't need to break it out. You can have your own search engine and already compete.
I'm just wondering what will happen, not saying that that's a good thing. But it's been Free Talk Live. You can go for more Free Talk Live to freetalklive.com. Thanks for listening. Peace.
We have some good news. The indictments against Ross Ulbricht in the District of Maryland were dismissed with prejudice, meaning they can never be refiled. This is especially good because those indictments contain the only charge ever made that Ross engaged in murder for hire. This was a serious allegation that Ross Ulbricht denies. It was never prosecuted or ruled on by a jury, but was trumpeted by the federal government and the media as if it were proven fact. The Maryland court held these indictments for almost 5 years, poisoning Ross's case and leaving him under a cloud of unproven allegations. As explained in Ross's appeal to the Supreme Court, the fact that the judge used these allegations